Ba ba bum bum. Ba ba bum. Ba 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 bum. Oh my gosh. Thank you all for being here right at the beginning of the stream. That is so awesome of you. Um, hello, Holokin, Baphomet, Mickey, Timerinia, Technetium, of course. We got Chase, got Faith by Faith. We got Wreckage. And in the YouTube chat, we had Alexer, got Cotton D-Pad, Decoy Duck. Goodness gracious. Spider, Ela Devine. Oh my goodness. We got Juno Alaska in here too. So many folks. Oh, Bum is censored. That's pretty good. I think it was probably Indiana Jones. Yes, I think that's what it was. What's up, Rains Cloud? Good to see you from Twitter. Thank you for joining us. Yes, so, welcome in. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, Raiders of the Lost VOD, true. Hello also to Jason Nebular and Blandrick in the YouTube chat. Remember, everybody, it's top of the stream to like the stream. Pretty please, on the YouTube page. That's most appreciated. I think today we're going to have some fun. We're going to have some fun segments today. I normally, when I stream, try to fit all of the things that we're going to talk about in the title of the stream, but what I'm doing today instead is I'm going to update the stream title as we go along. But I will say, right up top here, we are going to be talking about, yes, even hotter takes. It's going to be so fun. So what I would like to talk about later on, we're going to talk about trans men identifying as lesbians and all related such like he, him, lesbians, transmasculine, like basically what it comes down to is like trans men, lesbians. I also, this is something another streamer told me I should do, which is very funny that I just happen to be doing this. I have manufactured my own drama because earlier this weekend I was talking to some TERFs, some gender criticals, whatever you want to call them, on Twitter about whether whether trans women can have periods, right? And I have a very firm opinion about that. I have a very firm opinion that some people might think is kind of crazy. I've disagreed with trans men about my opinion on that. Hello, Mersh. Hello, Screw and Tuna. No worries. We're not too late. We're still warming up. We're still chilling. I think I want to have like 15 to 20 minutes to warm up at least. You know, we're going to just kind of like ease into it. And then, yes, we are going to be talking about Will Smith versus Chris Rock later. Not so much about their specific situation, a little bit about that specific situation, but I'm having a lot of extra thoughts about it. Yeah, oh yeah, it's going to be a spicy stream. I am so excited for this one. I'm so excited. And I don't want to, like, make a big deal out of it and everything, but I will have a little bit of, just tiny bit of commentary about Destiny the streamer. Just a tiny bit. I really don't want to be on his radar, and I love just ignoring that he exists. It's perfect. It's perfect situation. Like, I remain below the radar and pretend he doesn't exist. Yes. Ooh, look at the little, we have a little thing pop up. Ooh, subscribe on Patreon. Ooh, $1 a month on Patreon is like $12 a year. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Except that I can budget around it. Wowee. Yeah, as any trans person should. Yes, trying to stay off of a transphobe's radar. Good point to Baphomet. Yes. So, other than that, that's like overall idea of what we're going to be talking about today. Yeah, you're welcome to, Christian B. By the way, anybody who is here and who isn't in the Discord, there is a link in the description on the YouTube page and on the website up here in the header links for the Discord server if you'd like to join to have discussions, have input on what we talk about on stream, post memes in there, join the community, interact, join the horde. Do it. yes, Keffels has done some amazing things lately. Truly, we've mentioned Keffels several times the last couple streams because she just keeps coming out here ratioing people to death, and may or may not be contributing somewhat to uh somewhat contributing to people getting banned off of Twitch, which, I mean, that's activism, right? Yes, those ratios, mwah, perfect. Yeah, I just can't believe she literally got him banned. I only recently heard about Keffels. Yes, hello, Neurotic Anarchy Canary. I don't know what you actually prefer on this in this situation. I just have known you for a long time under one name. But yes, I've only recently heard of Keffels too. As I understand it, Keffels is just like a shit poster who has existed just sort of on her own. And it's sort of only recently that she's sort of been tangentially related to all these leftist type streamers. So she is running into some real flack on Twitter. I mean, the thing is, like, as I understand it, some of these people who create like hate content, like Lauren Southern, for example, like, their fans are all people who like watching hate content, and so as they talk about Keffels, Keffels is getting some of that flack, which doesn't seem fun, but she seems uniquely able to handle that kind of shit, so that's cool. Nice, Holocan. Insanely excited, waiting for an art commission. I too am waiting on an art commission for the channel, actually. You will all be able to see it. Yes, she's a Twitch streamer. She's been she's been cross-posting her shit posting on multiple platforms. Keffels took DM's place as Destiny's favorite target. Yeah. They did, yeah, I guess with Neiman Mama, like, being gone so much lately, there's not as much that you can talk about, with her. And I know he did say something like, oh, it's too bad she doesn't want to talk to me anymore. It would be fun to debate her or whatever. And Demon Mama was like, to be clear, I will never speak to him again. Which I respect. Absolutely. I'll let you save it, Holokin. I like to see finished pieces. I mean, obviously I like to get updates from my artist when I commission, but I don't like to spoil it so much by seeing other people's whips. Mountains of the Moon over in the YouTube chat. I'm not sure if you're still there. I'm not sure when your message came up. I don't primarily look at the YouTube chat, and I apologize for that. I am non-binary and trans. TLDR. Ooh, nice, Holocan. I'm excited. I'm glad that it's gonna be, like, so quick that you're gonna have it. I don't know. I have no idea. Like, mine is still in the planning stages. Am I okay with people sending me art? Yeah. I mean, yes, that's good. I have a folder on my desktop which has not been updated in a long time that has some fan art of me in it. But people don't really do that as much anymore, which is fine. I used to be like, that would be the best thing if people made fan art of me. That would be like the top tier. And now I think if people took audio clips of me singing and talking and auto-tuned them into a music, that's what, like, making it means for me as a YouTuber. As a streamer. Social media breaks are a good idea. Yes. But yeah, the dragon art that I'm having commissioned is... We're still in the sending it back and forth, getting the details hammered out stage, you know? Ooh. Yeah, I don't blame you, Screwin' Tuna. Sadly, I suck at art, except I can paint 40K models pretty decently, so no art for me. You know, I am not big on art either. I mean, like, not good at it in the 2D art sense, I guess. Like, I do 3D art, like, I've done metal work before, not like blacksmithing, but like small scale. Oh my gosh. Oh my elbow. What are they talking about over on the TGC stream, Christian? I don't catch many other people's streams super often. Sometimes I will watch some from the big streamers that I was following before I myself decided to become a streamer. Sometimes I watch my friends' streams, but not very often. Yeah, that's fair, Chase. Yeah, I don't, I've always been more of a 3D art person. Yes, it is so nice to receive art as gifts. Amazing. Ooh, I'm worried if we wait too much longer, we'll start to lose people, because we are still just kind of like getting warmed up here, but I am very excited about the kind of intense, fun stuff that we're going to talk about today. I think that like a little bit over 10 minutes now is about how long we've been going. And oh, thank you, Christian V. Yeah, so I guess trans girl therapist Jess and Zena later are going to be streaming about a bunch of different stuff. Mm. Welcome in, Captain Noggin, Blue Spectra. Welcome, welcome. We are just about ready to get started on the first of our topics today. Okay. I have some orange juice. It's good. It's a good idea if you're gonna drink water and stuff anyway. Have orange juice. I'm gonna grab a water, actually. I'm gonna clear a little space right here. Grab a cup of water, and then we're gonna start on our first segment. I'm excited to start the first segment, okay? Let's do it momentarily. That cup. Oh, this is. I mean, it's a goblet. It's ceramic, but it's meant to look like it's metal bound, like got an iron around it. It's cool looking. Water, true. Water. So, let me get some stuff rearranged here. Thank you. I got it at my local Renaissance Festival some number of years ago. I feel like my cat is about to launch himself directly into the window because he wants to be outside. Yes, thank you, Christian V. They're going to be talking about a lot of really cool stuff. Don't blame you if you're primarily a fan of them if you go over there later. I don't know what everyone's stream schedule is too. I don't know what everybody's stream schedule is, so I picked my days partially because of like Demon Mama, and I don't know what anyone else's schedule is, or if anybody else has a schedule. So other people can plan around me pretty easily at this point. Okay, so first off, top of the stream here, I would like to do a little segment talking about trans men identifying as lesbians, or transmasculine lesbians, or he/him lesbians. And the reason that I want to talk about this is because we, on my channel before, have previously talked about bi lesbians, and another fellow streamer let me know, good goddammit Malcolm, by the way, if anybody who follows me doesn't follow goddammit Malcolm, feel free to check him out. He does panels and stuff, trans-related things. Very good. So he tipped me off to the fact that on TikTok, apparently, at the moment, right now, the idea of transmasc lesbians are being talked about quite a bit. So I did do a little bit of just a little check through because I don't actually use TikTok. I did for like a week, but I don't actually use it very much. So I did a little check. I did a little searchy search, because you can actually search on TikTok. It's quite convenient. Yes, this discourse won't leave my For You page. I see. So the only things that I really found were like people who are transmasc lesbians, but maybe that's because of how I tagged it, how I searched in the tags. But all I saw was basically some people being like, I am that. Please leave me alone. Or like a 3-minute explanation video that I was not in the mood to watch. But yes, the idea here, I guess, being that this is discourse that is going on. Apparently, most of this discourse is by cis people who are just the absolute worst people to have involved in this discussion. Like, what's lower than 101? Remedial? Cis people just need to stay in the remedial class. They're not even at the 101 level about some of these things. This, in particular, Wreckage says, very butch-phobic. Yeah, like, okay, so, as we discussed in the bi-lesbian video, words in the queer community are not used in this, like, exclusive to a specific definition kind of way. Like, there are non-binary people who identify as lesbians. Like, they might even be kind of femme still. There are femme non-binary lesbians. So it clearly, like, to be a lesbian doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be a woman in order to identify as that, right? So if we have a willingness to be flexible, a little bit of wiggle room on that end, like, oh, if a lesbian is a woman who loves other women, so if you don't have to necessarily be a woman, if you can be like a femme non-binary person who is also a lesbian, can you be an androgynous person who is a lesbian? Like androgynous in appearance, non-binary person, right? And like, can you be assigned male and masculine and a lesbian? Like, so there's just like a scale, and it's just like, where do we put the bar? Like, that bar would be all the way on the end of like, cis men can identify as lesbians. I'm just saying, just existent spectrums where we draw the line of these definitions, okay? So, yeah, there are a lot of fembi lesbians. Oh, the cis people aren't discoursing per se, but mocking whichever position they disagree with. They shouldn't be taking the class for credit, just auditing this one. True, Decoy Duck. Yes, a lot of people, yeah, it's the kind of, it runs into the same crowd of people who are against bi-pan lesbians, who are also against the idea of transmasculine lesbians. Oh, yes, yeah, Technetium. Technetium says there are also a large group of queer, often non-binary themselves, people who are very anti-transmasc lesbian in a way that I would think of as a label fetishism. I think I understand what you mean by that. For me, my experience in this discussion, having had this discussion about bisexual lesbians, like, can these definitions be flexible or whatever, like, in my opinion, bi is a modifier on lesbian. Thank you, Captain Nog, for the 3 gifted Tier 1 subscriptions. That's really kind of you. That's super generous of you. Thank you. You know what? I changed the name, or I changed the colors of your names in the back end, and it just hasn't actually updated the site. So my website is a little bit janky, honestly. We're working on it. I think that the work on the mobile website is taking precedence, so I just have like limited control over things for now. But where the strict definition of the label becomes more important than anything else, ignoring the lived experiences who have been in the community for decades longer. The people mentioned are usually like 14. Yes, exactly, Technetium. So I think that one of the issues that people run into, we get this on all sides. Can you identify as a lesbian as a trans man? Or if you are a lesbian and your partner transitions and now identifies as a man, can you still identify as a lesbian, or is that inherently negating the maleness of your partner's gender identity? You know, some people might feel that way. Some people might feel like, oh, if I'm a man and my partner is a lesbian, then that is invalidating my identity. Myself personally have not felt that way. Like, my partner, I think, like, if you were to really like force him to answer, would probably be like, I guess I'm straight. But I'm non-binary, and I don't feel like those things are in conflict with one another. Like, I don't think that my partner's label has to change, because like, that's like, who I am is not a statement about who he is, and who he is not a statement about who I am, if that makes any sense to me. So that's just my perfect. Yeah, no, Christian V, we've decided that the limit is well short of cishet men identifying as lesbians. I was blissfully unaware of M-spec lesbian discourse before people started shitting on Jaden for using the MLM flag in her Arrow Ace coming out video. Oh. Yeah, the MLM flag is older than the sunset lesbian flag. Why is the sunset lesbian flag? Like, how does that differentiate from the regular one? Yes, Mickey, we can joke about people being attracted to us being magically turned gay, but it's always ultimately up to how someone feels about themselves. Yeah. So my personal feeling is that my partner's label doesn't necessarily mean anything about me. And you can be like, I am generally, like, in the example of the word lesbian, you can say, like, I'm generally a woman attracted to other women. I'm just in a relationship with a man. And I think that that's fine. Like, I think you can be a lesbian and be in a relationship with a man. You know? Like, I don't think that those are mutually exclusive, because what we do with words in the community is to, like, signal to others our background. We use these words to signal to others how we feel about ourselves and about them, you know? So if we, you know, if you are a trans man who, like, was a lesbian for, let's say you didn't transition until you're like 40, right? If you're a lesbian for that huge amount of time, it would make sense to me that that history is important to you, and that you might want other people to know that you have that kind of past, you know? Like, that distinguishes you as a trans man from other, like, from cis men. Having the past of being female in the world is one thing. In addition, on top of that fact of being gay is a big deal. Like, it really changes how you view the world, because there's all these different pressures on you. And whether you were femme or butch before also make a big deal. Like, also just have an effect on who you are as a person. So because we use language to communicate, the goal of language is to get an idea across. We have definitions in order to induce commonality or have a common reference point when needed. So sure, like, lesbian in general means a woman who loves women. But we also know it can mean you're also attracted to some types of non-binary people. You are a type of non-binary person who's only attracted to feminine people, whatever. Like, it just seems to me pretty straightforwardly a non-difficult discourse. Like, if you are a person in the relationship and you feel as though your identity is being invalidated, or like if your partner not only still identifies as a lesbian but also, like, is actively misgendering you through your transition, like, that is a whole different situation, you know? I know, it's not feminine people either. Like, the definition of lesbian, like, I said feminine people. I'm like, I'm just, because it can be non-binary people too. It's about who you trend toward liking. You trend toward liking women and femmes. Does that seem fair? Women and femish. Femishes. Yeah, are they expected to abandon their role in the lesbian community as soon as they come out as a now straight trans man? No, they're still queer. Their experiences are still queer. Or at least they have been, you know? Again, if you come out and you choose to identify with some other thing, do not care. Like, that is up to you. Oh, yeah. My bad, wreckage. Lesbians have begun to exclude butches, and using wording like that is what I mean. Yeah. Um, it's on my end. It's because I'm trying to use an inclusive enough word to encompass the fact that you can be attracted to women and other types of non-binary people. And which is not to say that identifying as a lesbian precludes you from being attracted to men, as we talked about before. You can be a bi lesbian, which is bisexual is a modifier on lesbian. So, yeah, the main two words here are primarily prefer. Recently, I like to see sexuality much more as an attraction to or an inclination towards masculinity or femininity as you experience it in the world, rather than attraction to genders. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, not all butches are women either. Butch is a complicated... Yeah, so as I understand it, butch is like sort of an independent gender identity, which is sort of separate. Um, um, you could say that it's like a certain type of like AFAB masculinity, I guess, is... And as I understand it, also, there's studs, which like a stud is, as I understand it, kind of like being a butch, but it's only people of color. But still a very similar type of thing, where the butch lesbians and studs like sometimes use he him pronouns. They might identify as women or non-binary or somewhat as men. Like, it is a very complicated, fuzzy area where there happens to be this really intense intersection with gender identity, gender expression, and sexual orientation. Like, all these things are pretty interweaved anyway. What's up, Meeks? Welcome to the website. I still identify as lesbian even though I find femboys are just men who present in feminine ways attractive, but then I don't find butches attractive. So IDK, I'm just attracted to feminine things, lol. Meeks, that is like what I've heard from several people who I've had conversations with when we were discussing the bi-lesbian discourse of, like, they're like, I'm a lesbian, but, like, femboys are cute. I could have sex with a femboy, like, because of their adjacency to femininity. That's what the bi precludes the exceptions for, you know? Yeah, the variety of genders, many genders. Yeah, some young queer people really don't understand that all these things are interweaved. This is sort of the difficult thing about these kids. Like, we as humans have a natural desire to categorize things. As a teenager, you're learning definitions and applying them to the world, and it's like, I kind of do think that easing up on rigidity in applications like this is something that you just have to age out of. Like, you just have to age up to a point where you're not caring about that kind of stuff as much. And maybe some people get over it sooner than others. But I agree, label policing is kind of dumb. Wreckage, is finsexual lesbian like an actual term that exists? Interesting. Oh, are you just saying that bi-lesbian has existed for that long? Or fin-lesbian? Oh, you're just combining words. Okay. I was like, what are you talking about? So, yeah, finsexual, no connection to findom. Um, yes, yeah, the term bi lesbian has existed for a really long time. I didn't actually know that. It's on the Dyke March banner from, wasn't the original Dyke March in like the 80s or maybe the 70s? It was quite a long time ago. That is the only context in which I feel comfortable using that word. A lot of other slurs I will use to talk about myself. Like, I will use the F slur to talk about myself, but I will not use the D word to talk about myself because I've never been anything like a lesbian. Like, even now, in my current iteration of life where, like, I am pretty femme and, like, women are amazing, like, nothing about my experience is adjacent to that. I will not use the D slur on myself. No. That's very cool, Wreckage. Yes. So the other thing about that, about this whole situation that's rather frustrating, is that we have been like using these labels for a really long time. Like people being upset about lesbians using he, him pronouns, for example. Like, we are going to be reading as a group Stone Butch Blues by Leslie Feinberg. Which is a novel, by the way. It's a historical fiction novel about that kind of experience of being a he, him lesbian or like a butch lesbian. I found someone linked me to a website where I can read it, so I'll be able to finally get on that because I can't get an affordable copy of it anywhere. But yes, we have been treading this gender ground for a really long time, and it's so unfortunate that so much of this information is walled off from people. People are not able to. People are just not able to access this information, you know? Okay, one of the things that I want to do in this stream is update the stream title as we go, and I didn't do that for this point, and I'm almost done, I think, with this part. My pronouns are idiots, and I use dyke over lesbian, rip, reclaim it all. Hey, you know, like, it's just for me personally, like, before I transitioned, like, I dated boys, and, like, my long-term relationship was with a guy, so, like, our relationship started out seeming pretty hetero, and then as I've transitioned, like, I mean, like, we've been mistaken for brothers before in that way that gay couples do. Like, we are a gay couple, you know? So I feel more comfortable, like, calling myself the F word than I do calling myself the D word, because I just, like, for me, it's like a kind of, like, ownership, like, what experience did you have? What have you actually been called? That kind of stuff, you know? That's just my personal opinion. Yeah, you're right, Wreckage. I have the tab open on my computer currently, actually, for the website. It has the PDF hosted on it. The F word is a good catch-all for all the queers, true. It adds an extra layer of stupidity to the discourse that not only are people arguing passionately for the importance of strict definitions of labels, the definitions being used aren't even historically correct. God, yeah. It's so weird. Like, I feel like there's so much misinformation for the younglings right now. Like, do you remember when all those teenagers were like, stop using the word queer, it's a slur? And it's like, it turned out that the people who started them on that were TERFs. Holokin, I can now pass as a woman consistently at my workplace, and I've recognized my brain wants a split of masc and femme identification. Being NB, go figure. Yeah, it's fun. You start hormones, and you take the hormones for a while, and then you start to, like, get misgendering anxiety and dysphoria on the other end. That's probably why I've been, like, on and off hormones, and probably will be. I don't actually know. I feel fine now. Like, but I also don't have to go outside, and my voice sounds like this, so if I'm wearing a mask and I just sound like this, it doesn't matter what I look like, you know? I've seen people are saying trans women can't use the F slur because they aren't gay men. So to say they can use it is misgendering. Oh my god, Technetium, this is one of those ones that I find just really fucking stupid. I feel like if you're a trans woman and you grew up as a gay boy and everyone called you the F word, then as a trans woman, like, it, like, is an inherent part of the experience that you were like a feminine boy at the end. Do you need something? Oh, it's outside. Just put it on the counter. It's fine. And like, I just don't think that it makes sense to be like, oh, this word isn't even directed at you, because here's another microcosm of that is that I've had people say that I can't use the T slur, like, for myself, and the first time someone ever got on my case about this was when I was saying, like, I think I was like freaked out about Trump getting elected, and I was like, it's like, it feels like only a matter of time before someone beats the shit out of me for being a tranny or a faggot, and like, someone got upset with me for that because the T word is usually directed at like trans women, and so like, even if I've been called that before, people would say, oh, you can't use that because people usually are referring to trans women. Like, what the fuck do you mean? What the fuck do you mean? Like, if a trans man gets called the T slur, then like, what else are they gonna, like, if a trans man is discovered to have boobs or to not have a penis or something, you know, what do you think they're gonna call him? Do you think they're not going to call him the T slur? Or like a she-male or a he-she or something? Like, I have received all of these words, like, because they are attacking trans people for existing. Trans women are historically more visible, sure. But like, it is fucking ridiculous to me, the idea that like, this word that is the only generic term that's a slur against trans people, like, oh, actually, that's only against trans women. You're trans misogyny exempt, so you can't say it. Fucking ligma, for real. Thank you for the $15 super chat, Jason Nebular. TERFs hate the word queer because they're uncomfortable with blurriness. They want everything to be organized so they don't have to accommodate and stop hating. Yeah, I agree. I do think that it has a lot to do with the divide and conquer. You know? It's really trying to prevent cross group solidarity. Like, all of this T slur not censored on the screen. Yeah, I don't have any control over that, Technetium. I'm sorry. Yeah, like, it's just a slur for all of us, you know? It's I don't understand why anyone would try to break that down into separate little blah 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 blah. Like, lesbians and trans men are not mutually exclusive groups. Like, trans women and like femboys are not mutually exclusive groups. You know, you would think that you cannot be trans woman and femboy at the same time, but you just can. Like, I don't know what else. There's just not. Yeah, and I have bitched before about trans misogyny exempt and trans misogyny affected. Like, they're just really dumb. Let me change this thing really quick. Hold on. By the way, if we can get to $100, there's going to be a secret costume change that I am actually I really wanted to start out the stream in this costume change already, but I decided not to. Oh shit, I fucked it up. God damn it. I have to update the thing and do it. There we go. How close are we to? Yeah, we have 15. I don't count super chats because I don't receive super chats. Like, the same, like, I will not receive that super chat money until the end of April. So for this, it's only site subs and donations. Yeah, some people who are femboys, identify as trans women or are otherwise, like, listen, I kind of use it ironically, but like, oh my gosh, those were concurrent. Those were like simultaneous. Motor Girl donated $5. Thank you for that, Dono. Of course, it doesn't automatically update. And Decoy Duck got a tier 1 sub. Thank you. I call myself a transmasculine femboy. And the reason for that is, like, I know Milo Stewart, like, talks about how, they don't identify as transmasculine, and that can make them feel sort of isolated from other people who are assigned female and also trans. And, I mean, I get it, like, Milo is really feminine in appearance and gender expression and stuff. Like, I get it on one hand, but, like, Milo also has been on testosterone and had top surgery. So, like, from my perspective, in my own, like, I don't feel like I'm very masculine as, like, a trans person. Like, I don't identify as a man anymore. A lot of the time as I'm home, you know, not going out into the world, like, I wear dresses all the time. My expression is fairly feminine. Like, I love having my long hair. I really don't like having facial hair. I'm doing stuff I'm, like, preventing that from happening, you know. I'm thinking about getting more piercings and stuff. Like, I am feminine, but I'm transmasculine. Like, my transition has been a transmasculine one. So to me, it, like, I am a femboy. Like, I guess in the sense that, like, I've changed my body to being more masculine, and my personality and gender expression are femme. So, you know, normally you would think that these are, like, sort of mutually exclusive terms, but that's what makes the most sense to me. Being mistaken for a trans woman and experiencing trans misogyny is fucking terrifying and definitely defines me as TMA. I hate TME language. Yes, Wreckage. If I'm understanding you correctly, like, are you you're like a transmasculine person who's been mistaken for a trans woman? Because I have too. I think that transmasculine transmisogyny affected and transmisogyny exempt are, like, really dumb terms. I think that they're just categorically not true. Because I can be perceived as a trans woman, especially now that I've transitioned into being more masculine and dress femme all the time. More than ever in my life, I'm being mistaken for a trans woman. Thank you, Mersh. And thank you for the $5 Canadian from Quem98. I personally love Kate Bornstein's metaphor of gender as a playground. Oh my gosh. You are like crazy today with this. Meeks with the $10 dono for the Transmask Femboy It's Dragon. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Incredible. Very kind of you all. Wow. It can be funny to be misgendered in reverse until it's dangerous and not funny anymore. Yeah, Technetium, like, most trans people experience trans misogyny regardless what direction. I've had people say that, you know, you as a trans mask can't say anything about misogyny and sexism. I'm like, I didn't start hormones until I was 21. What do you think was happening to me? Like, I started identifying as trans at 15. What do you think was happening to me for those 6 years? Do you think that I was not being, like, I don't know that I've actually been catcalled because I don't, like, walk around on the streets like that, but that level of shit, you know, like, do you think I was not getting looked at by weird older men? Do you think that at my job, I never had, like, a creepy guy call my place of work after my shift to find out when I was going to be there next? Like, what do you think was happening before that? Or, like, for the first several years of my being on T, when people still perceived me as feminine, like, even when I was really trying to be masculine, like, was I just not experiencing misogyny there? Like, what was that, if not misogyny? Yeah, yeah, I started hormones at 21. Oh gosh, when I was in school, there was a rumor that I was transmasc and in the process of transitioning before I was out as transfemme or even knew I was non-binary. That's wild. Oh, seven in the YouTube chat says, I'm 24, transfemme, and always scared that I fucked up by starting transition too late. It is absolutely not too late. Absolutely not. Like, at age 24, like, it's not until you're, like, 30 that you stop going through, like, pretty major body changes. Even if you're just cis and not dealing with regular hormones, you know? Like, there are women who have started hormones at age 50. And, they're, like, not gonna be, like, banging 21-year-old bodies or whatever, but they are women, they look like women. It has just as much of an effect on them growing their titties at age 50 as it does to anyone else, so don't worry about it. You're gonna be fine. Yeah, all transmasc people have experienced tons of sexual harassment by men before and probably during transition. True. Captain Nog with the $5 dono, not to throw a wrench in this great discussion, but on a random note, what are 3 of your favorite bands? Curious about your music tastes. I will get to that in just a second. I want to catch up reading these comments about this subject, and then we'll take a quick brief break about that, and then we're going to talk about trans women and whether they have periods or not. Transmasc and transfemme being exclusive to AFAB and AMAB was weird a little back, since that kind of binary exclusionary thinking is always harmful to NB people, and I got replies suggesting TMA, TME as alternatives. So me personally, I do view transmasc and transfemme as being related to AFAB and AMAB. Like, to transition, like, to me it has to do with, like, to transition from the assignment of femaleness to a masculine, to a less feminine. To deviate from feminine is to be transmasculine, and vice versa for transfemme. Like, to be assigned male and assigned a male gender is to, and like to shed that is to deviate from masculinity, which is to be feminine, transfeminine. That's my personal view. But I don't think TMA and TME are at all, like, I think that's even worse. I think that's significantly worse as a descriptive system. Yikes, Mersh. The bathroom stuff is just fucking crazy. Yeah, it's the fucking essentialism again. Trans men are men, and men can't talk about misogyny, so be quiet. True. And, like, the difficulty with trans men trying to find a place to talk about, like, their experiences being raped, like, before, during, and after transition, like, there's not a place for them to talk about that. Ty Marinia says, a good friend of mine started estrogen at 44, and she is super happy with her progress so far. That is always good to hear. Whoa, just gonna throw shit around. Transmasc, transfemme always just seemed like a euphemism for AFAB, AMAB as a way to include non-binary people without not acknowledging their assigned gender. Kind of, yeah. But I feel like transmasc and transfemme are, like, so far the least essentializing. Like, I think that transmasc and transfemme are less essentializing than AFAB and AMAB. Like, while they do ultimately still refer to the same thing, I think it is broadly less essentializing. But again, that's just, like, my personal prerogative and opinion on that. I'm sorry to hear that your relationship didn't work out, Ela Devine, but that is a thing that happens, and I'm glad that you at least don't have to stay in the closet, for the sake of that relationship. Yeah, Mersh, this, a lot of this conversation doesn't account for intersex people, like, whose hormones, like, just naturally shift over time. Yeah, Baphomet says, that's part of why I don't like those terms, because as a gender fluid person, I'd really prefer my assigned sex at birth not to be acknowledged or known by anybody. like, I love that I'm at that point in my transition, though, where people are like, oh, I can't tell where you are or where you're going or anything, you know? That's good stuff to me. When people ask, I don't want to answer. I'll talk about it openly when I want to talk about it, but when people ask directly, I won't answer. So, yes, useful as in-group signifiers. They're used as a way to ask the AGAB of NB people in a more acceptable way. Yeah, I think so. That can be the case, definitely. Welcome, Rain Raven. I don't know that I've seen your name before in the chat yet. No, you have the it's new little thingy, a little clock on my admin chat. Quite nice. Yeah, I don't like the focus on assigned sex at birth. That's definitely not great. Okay, so sorry, Rain Raven. I'm assigned male and and identify as trans femme, but not a woman, and have never heard of TMA TME. Could you explain? Oh, okay, Kestrel. Okay, welcome in. TMA and TME means transmisogyny affected or transmisogyny exempt. Transmisogyny is the very particular kind of hatred, the very particular kind of transphobia that is only leveled at trans women. So, like, trans women are accused of grooming children. Usually this is not directed at trans men, as one example. It's not a very good example. Or, like, attacking their appearance for not being feminine enough. You know, that's transmisogyny. So it's an attempt to say, oh, if you're a trans woman, then you're affected by transmisogyny, but if you're not a trans woman, then you're not affected by it. Yeah, and Mickey says, I'm a trans femme and practically exempt from transmisogyny. It's just a very, very bad system. It's just a bad system. I do want to go ahead and answer Captain Nog's question now, since I feel like we've wound down a lot off of that. We kept viewership pretty high, even though I didn't change the title of the thing. So, what are my 3 favorite bands? Curious about my music taste. Briefly, my music taste is pretty eclectic. I don't know, like, I'll often, like, listen to a couple songs from a particular band. Broadly, I like almost everything that I've heard from Ninja Sex Party, from Starbomb. I like Tim Minchin. I like Bo Burnham. I like Lil Nas X. I listen to a lot of different shit, you'll find. Quite a lot of different stuff. So, yes. Yeah, NB people are a wide variety of TMA and TME, so they're really inaccurate terms. You all just keep asking me about Ghost. I've never listened to Ghost. It's really, really difficult to get me to listen to new music, but if you keep bringing it up every goddamn time, I'm sure that I will eventually have to check it out. Oh, Baphomet, that's interesting. Every time I read trans femme and trans masc, I only read it as identifying as trans and femme, or identifying as trans and masc, respectively, which in my mind kind of implies you can't be AMAB and trans and masc. Yeah, same. Faith by Faith, if you go into the top right corner over here on the website, if you're on the website on the desktop version, then there should be a button that says account. And you can go in there and there's a drop-down menu where you can add your pronouns and then hit the save button and then come back. Yes, music peer pressure for Zephyr. It's very difficult to get me to watch or listen to new stuff, watch new stuff, or anything. I am not familiar with any of Tim Minchin's musicals. Okay. I am ready to move on to the next subject. The next subject that I am ready to move on to is whether trans women have periods. Okay? And we're changing the title of the stream to reflect that we're talking about this now. Are you saying, Timerinia, you remember this conversation from 4 years ago, this trans women having periods conversation? I know that we've been having for several years. Katie, I would like you to remain open to the discussion that we're about to have. Because while you may not have experienced this cluster of symptoms that I'm going to be discussing, several other trans women that I know have. So, the topic of whether trans women experience periods is one that is shockingly charged. Very interesting to me. For disclosure, if anyone is curious, entering this discussion, I am a person who started menstruating when I was 13 years old, and now I'm 28. So, like 15 years of having a uterus that does a function that I kind of hate. Who doesn't, right? So I want it to be clear that I am not speaking from inexperience when it comes to what traditionally understood periods are, okay? I don't think that there's been any research on this topic, no, which is why it's tricky. Like, I cannot point you to any research. All I can point you to is the sort of collective understanding that I've gathered over many years of participation in this community. So, for me, I know that people draw a distinction for some reason between PMS and period symptoms. In my experience, premenstrual syndrome is a cluster of symptoms that rise and fall all throughout the menstrual cycle and last through my actual period. So, like the moodiness and stuff like that, like I don't really know why there's a distinction drawn there. To me, as someone who's had them for 15 years, I have always just considered, like, I've never drawn a distinction. I've never been like, oh, I'm having PMS right now. I'm like, oh, my period is about to start. Like, these are all period symptoms. All of this is all one thing to me. And as someone who's had them, I will also say that the bleeding itself is by far not the worst symptom, right? So to me, the period is the cluster of symptoms, including the ones that are considered part of premenstrual syndrome, and the bleeding is like kind of correlated with this cluster of symptoms, right? That it's called the period because that's what the sort of symptoms are surrounding, even though you also have a small spike of these symptoms when you ovulate. But for me, the pain, the mood swings, the fatigue, sometimes nausea, are all overwhelmingly the worst part of having a period. They are debilitating. Like, the bleeding itself is like messy and obnoxious, but by far and away, like, not the primary aspect of having a period. It tends to be the central point, the central focal point again. But interestingly, yeah, you get the acne, the anger, and the cramps. Yeah, all pretty ridiculous hormonal symptoms, right? The hormonal rise and fall that you experience during a menstrual cycle are like, it's your whole body. It's like, people are like, oh, hormones are magic. You go on estrogen to transition and it changes all these things. People with a menstrual cycle, like, have these kind of like highs and lows throughout their just normal monthly process. It is, to me, like, awful. So, what are the cramps? This is something that I think is kind of critical to understand. What are the cramps, right? Some people say Oh, I mean, I have fibromyalgia, so my cramps are debilitating, um, ostensibly because of that. They've always been like that, though. In any case, what are the cramps? Because I've had some people be like, "Oh, if you don't have a uterus, it can't cramp. You know, it cramps like your body hurts because your body's trying to squooge all the blood out of your uterus." Technically, yeah. However, the smooth muscle fibers that exist in the uterine wall that that make the uterus contract like that. Those same smooth muscle fibers are all in your guts, all in your intestines, all up in your guts. So when you have a period, like plenty of cis women have like diarrhea or constipation, various like digestive issues, because the cramping is affecting their digestive system as well. So literally any human being who has smooth muscle tissue in their abdomen, which is every single one of us, can experience cramping related to estrogen rising and falling in their bodies. Okay? So, and here's the other big question. Some people will say like, "Oh, well, yeah, the ovaries and the uterus work together to release some estrogen at this time, and then it falls and they release progesterone at this other time, right? And it's like this whole orchestrated system. So if you don't have a uterus, or if you don't have ovaries producing your estrogen in like a naturally rising and falling manner, then how could you have a menstrual cycle? How could you have a hormonal cycle?" Well, the thing is that human bodies are stupid and incredible. If you put in synthetic estrogen into a person's body who doesn't make it naturally, who doesn't make very much of it naturally, this does not apply to people who just can't make their own hormones, okay? So, like, let's just say people with testes who usually make way more testosterone than they do estrogen, if you introduce a greater amount of synthetic estrogen, their body will just make more. It'll just make more estrogen at various times. And, like, possibly even releasing progesterone. I've never actually looked into, like, how much the testicles can produce progesterone, but I imagine it's got to be some, right? It's not perfect. It's not exactly like that technetium. Like, the girl testes don't start acting like ovaries, given, like, not exactly, but kind of. Like, they don't straight up, like, obviously, like, produce enough estrogen, but they start doing fluctuations of their own, right? And so you find that trans women experience a symptom cluster of sometimes debilitating cramps, mood swings, appetite problems, digestive issues that all happen on something like a monthly cycle. Personally, mine has never been on any kind of regular cycle. I think I have PCOS. I don't know. But yeah, like, I just don't, I don't think it makes sense. Oh, and here's the other thing too. People who've had a hysterectomy have all these same symptoms without the bleeding. Like, if you have a hysterectomy but you keep your ovaries, so you still have like a natural estrogenic menstrual cycle, like a hormonal menstrual cycle, you will still have cramping. Removing your uterus does not mean you will stop cramping during your period. Your breasts will still get enlarged, like your areolas will still be puffy and sensitive, like all of the other shit that normally starts happening to your body. Scientifically, why would they get this on a monthly cycle? Mountains of the Moon, why do cis women get this on a monthly cycle? Like, what? Like, because? I don't know. So to me, oh, interesting, Jason Nebular. Thank you, by the way, for the $8 Australian. I think that's $8 Australian. Trans men also develop internal prostate glands over time. I didn't know that. That's really interesting. Where? Oh, do you just mean the Skene's gland, like, increases in size? Because I know that. Whereas trans women develop breasts over time. Yeah. Yes, thank you for that $8 Australian. That's really cool. Yeah, Technetium says, I wonder if the PMS symptoms go away after bottom surgery then, the endocrine system being more complicated than balls or no balls, but it'd be interesting to measure. Yeah, I think that would be, like, I think that would, you removing that factor, I mean, Katie, in the YouTube chat, like, I have known many women who don't seem to know each other, who just, they do this thing where they're like, wow, I'm really emotional and like upset today, or like I'm like craving this certain kind of food, and they're like, why do I feel so weird? And then they are like, oh, checks calendar. So it's clearly like something that is happening on a kind of regular frequency, right? Like, I don't think it's fair to say that just because you haven't experienced it, that other women haven't, you know? It may be that you had, like, a perfect dose the entire time, and it's something about having too much estrogen, maybe, that causes these symptoms. I don't know. Or maybe if you have too low of a dose, you don't have that. But if cisgender women who've had their uteruses removed can experience all these same symptoms, like, it's clear that having a uterus isn't the critical factor, right? Faith by Faith says, yeah, I check calendar whenever I'm super horny, and there's a correlation. That's your ovulation part of your cycle. That's what would normally be your ovulation part of your cycle, is when you get really horny. If anybody doesn't realize, on a typical 28-day cycle, like, the first day of the cycle is the first day that you're bleeding, and then, like, about 2 weeks after that day, you ovulate, and then about 2 weeks after that, you start your period again. So when you're horny in your cycle, that's ovulation day. Also, Technetium says, also notable that cis men do have a measurable monthly hormonal cycle in some cases, so clearly the testes do that on their own. I was aware that there was through the day, like, that testosterone in cisgender men peaks at, like, noon or something like that in the day. But it's interesting that there is a monthly hormonal cycle for men also. So, you know, maybe men are having a similar type of... I mean, your body probably doesn't produce all the same hormones at all times, right? Like, it just makes sense to me. Your body produces some and not, like, every day, like, you know? Or your appetite or how much you're sleeping could have an effect. Like, not sleeping well can cause disruptions to your period, so obviously it has something to do with hormones if you're not sleeping well. Yeah, Mersh, that's not true either. Like, the idea that your cycles will, like, sync up has not been substantiated. I don't know, Alexis, that it's fair to say that there's a rise in testosterone when menstruating, but that there's definitely a fall in estrogen when menstruating, and that just leads to testosterone being more dominant in the body. I mean, Ela Devine, some people don't have it destroy their sex drives. Well, actually, a lot of people report that it seems as though their sex drive is canceled out, and then they it kind of comes back in a different form, like it changes, you know? Yeah, Katie says, basically, expressing skepticism because I've heard so many trans women wish they could have a period, and so it makes sense to me that they would try to look for those symptoms. I feel like it could, yeah, I like it. What you're saying is like you're concerned that there's confirmation bias here. The way that I see this expressed, and like obviously all I can say is like inferring based on what people have said. People usually describe this as like I was experiencing symptoms and I was like, what the fuck is wrong with me? And then I checked to the time. Like, sorry. Again, Katie, like, as someone who's had irregular cycles my entire life, never have I been on a, like, my uterus does not produce hormones on a, like, my ovaries just do not have a schedule, right? Being like, why do I feel like shit? Why am I bloated right now? Like, why am I in such a bad mood? Like, I feel like I'm fucking biting people's heads off today. What is my issue? And then going and looking at my calendar app and seeing how long it's been since I've had a period and being like, oh shit, I guess that's about to happen, isn't it? Like, that experience rings true. These trans women being like, why do I feel like shit right now? Like, what is happening? They don't have the bleeding to point to, as they can't say like, oh, well, obviously I'm on my period. Like, they're just like, why do I feel like shit for no fucking reason? And I believe that is because basically just the same physiological phenomenon occurring. I feel like we had more than $25 in donos, and I just like neglected to add a few, and I feel bad about it, and I want to make sure that I'm not including those. But that's like my big spicy hot take, I guess. Yeah, you can always tell by the increase in acne, right? Mountains of the Moon said, I'm on my bodily autonomy soapbox, but it's important that people know what you just said. You can't confirm pregnancy until 2 weeks gestation at earliest. Keep this in mind when pro-birth legislation is proposed. Yeah, and just to clarify that point, Mountains of the Moon is saying, like, with how the cycle works, like, you like, have your period, and then, like, about 2 weeks after your first day of your period, you ovulate, and then you have, like, 2 weeks where you can get pregnant before you would have your period again. So, like, you could get pregnant that week that you ovulate, and then you miss your period 2 weeks later, and then you don't take a pregnancy test until what, like 2 weeks, maybe a week or two after that, and by then you're a month pregnant. Yes, exactly, Timerinia. The spicy hot take is periods aren't just about bleeding. Yeah, the spicy hot take is everything else about a period is awful and incredibly debilitating. Also, any trans person on injectable HRT is going to experience symptoms as their hormones decrease and fluctuate in between injections compared to daily oral HRT. Yeah, you've probably experienced the extreme horny TM some amount of time after your T-shot. Yeah, you get the extreme horny for the first, 2 or 3 days after your shot, and if you miss your shot by 2 or 3 days, you feel like you want to die. It's great. Oh my god, Ela Devine, are you for real? Some people like my mom have periods throughout their pregnancy and don't realize they're pregnant until they are delivering in 2 months. I hate that. Mountains of the Moon, do trans men experience a cycle in a way? Trans men who are not on hormones yet will have the same menstrual cycle that they did before. Trans men who, have had their organs removed will not. Trans men who are on hormones may have... Oh, no. Why are you doing this? Stop what you're... Why? Why are you turning off? Hold on. Just one quick second. It's fine. It'll come back. It's just being kind of funky lately. There we go. The camera. Oh, bad camera. No. Trans men on hormones will have, right after their shot, it's, their highest levels of testosterone, and then it'll taper off as you get closer to your next shot day. But that's part of the reason why subcutaneous injections are preferable to intramuscular injections, because intramuscular injections, there's a much higher spike initially and then a much steeper drop off. Whereas with a subcutaneous injection, it's a little bit more of a slow release over the course of the time. So if you end up missing it by a couple days, you're not like dropped off the cliff by the time you get there. I was curious about that too. Like, do trans masc people on estrogen blockers still have periods? Most trans men don't use estrogen blockers. Most trans men don't go on estrogen blockers, so it's tough to say. I've known some trans men have been on testosterone, but that didn't stop their period, or their period came back and then they went on estrogen blockers. The point of the estrogen blocker in that case is to prevent you from having a period, though. See you, Wreckage. Have a good night. Sleep well. Preggers test every 2 weeks. True. Yeah, well, Katie, you can track... Katie says, another issue with this convo is that trans women's estrogen does not track how a cis women's hormones fluctuate. You can track this stuff. Goes for both injections and pills. So I think what Katie's trying to say is that if you're taking estrogen once per week, then you can track the correlations of hormone rising and falling. But, like, unless you're getting your blood level tested every week, like, you can't know if your body is producing some estrogen, you know, like, in tandem with that. Or, like, does your body produce progesterone, you know? And Emily in the YouTube chat makes a very good point. Emily says, okay, maybe it is in our heads, so what? So even if it were a psychosomatic experience, like, you can psych yourself into throwing up. You know what I mean? Like, you can, like, it wouldn't matter even if it were a psychosomatic experience. Like, here, like, I have chest pains and back pains, like, inside my rib cage. And that shit's scary and it freaks me out. And even if it's psychosomatic or, like, some kind of, like, non-harmful thing, which it is, it's just intercostal muscle pain from a previous injury that flares up because I have fibromyalgia. Even though it is not deadly, it is still scary and like, difficult for me to deal with. So that would be, like, it would still be worthy of treatment, at least in the managing my surrounding symptoms, if not managing the pain directly, you know? So, like, there's no way to know whether your body is producing more estrogen or progesterone or whatever, in the assumption that you have not had an orchiectomy or whatever, right? But even if it were, like, psychosomatic and not something that you could measure in the blood, it would still be, like, happening. At least insofar as it matters that it's happening, which is the subjective experience. Like, a lot of this stuff, like depression, you know, anxiety, like, you find out diagnostically what's happening by asking what's happening and then just kind of treating it like it's real, you know? And trying to manage those things as a direct result. So it just seems to me like saying that it's not real or saying that it's categorically something different, like, to say that the symptoms that trans women experience being categorically different also alienates a lot of cisgender women who've had hysterectomies. Like, I have, in the course of these discussions, I have seen cis women who've had hysterectomies be like, oh, I didn't know that other people got this. I'm glad to know that other people have this, because I didn't know that I was still going to basically have a period after having my uterus removed, you know? It is not inconsequential to call it what it is call it the same thing because it is the same thing. By the way, if you've been enjoying this chat at all, consider hitting like on the YouTube video real quick. We have 47 likes and 55 concurrent viewers, so if you haven't hit like on the stream, please go ahead and do that. I have so appreciated everybody's participation tonight so far. Yeah, like Timerania says, a non-bleeding period. Like, I just don't personally, like, understand what the purpose would be in differentiating between those two things. Shark Week, but without the teeth, true. Okay, I think that I need to bump this up to 40. I think this is going to say 40 now. Take a quick moment. Okay. People's main issue, 7 on the YouTube chat, says people's main issue seems to be semantic, and I don't understand the fuss, honestly. If the symptoms map onto common period symptoms, why do we have to avoid the language? Well, we have to avoid the language specifically because, like, it's appropriating period culture, like Emily says, like, us poser trans women appropriating period culture. It's this idea that, like, as a man, you can never experience what I have with my uterus and my bleeding and the sacred passage. Like, cis women in this argument really, like, I think it has to do with, like, I don't know, it's like a weird, like, sense of superiority thing, but it's not a superiority thing to have a period. It's a martyrdom complex. Yeah, trying to monopolize period suffering. Do you bleed? Yeah, the way TERFs talk about their periods is odd. Yeah, some people really do, like, center their suffering at the core of their being. Like, you know, actually, 7, you say it feels like a lot like defining womanhood through suffering, which is a big yikes. I was just thinking, like, we do this in the trans community with dysphoria also. Like, you're not a real woman if you've never had a period. Like, you're not a real tran if you didn't want to kill yourself when you first realized that you were trans. Like, you know, like, calling my period a blood offering from now on, true. Alexis, you have to give a blood offering to the trans cabal. Beyond safe words, thank you. Another article confirming that, yes, trans women can have period-like symptoms. Oh, this is from Medical News Today. Excuse me. Just gonna scooch some things around really quick. Just gonna do a little scoocheroo. Just a little scoochy. A little scoochy coochie. Scoochy coochie. What is that? Help me understand what horrible abomination I've just created. What is a scoochie coochie? How do trans women experience PMS-like symptoms? Anecdotal evidence suggests that transgender women experience PMS or PMDD-like symptoms at the same time each month. However, researchers have not studied this area of transgender health. The IAPD suggests that some transgender women may be more sensitive to estrogen hormones than others. This increased sensitivity may lead to PMDD-like symptoms. Emotional and psychological experiences. Some transgender women report emotional and psychological symptoms similar to those of PMS. These symptoms including irritability, tiredness, sleeping too much or too little, appetite changes, anxiety, rapid changes in mood, loss of interest in sex. Both progesterone and estrogen can cause irritability and rapid mood shifts. Estrogen injections can also cause other symptoms, including anxiety, because they lead to high fluctuating levels of estrogen. And, yeah, so I guess this whole page is, can trans women get periods? Physical experiences. The possible physical symptoms of PMS, including swollen breasts, bloating, cramping, headaches, gastrointestinal symptoms, and appetite changes. Some transgender women may experience some of these symptoms, including headaches and tender swollen breasts as a result of hormone therapy. I mean, well, go fucking figure about the swollen breasts on hormone therapy, but what? Let's scooch back over here. Scotchy, scotchy, scotch. Scotch, scotch, scotch. Scoochie, coochie. Ugh. I just did my blood offering a week ago. True. Yeah, when you scooch your cooch. I have those symptoms, but it's just clinical depression. Yes, Ela Devine, public service announcement for all the uterus having comrades. Taking antibiotics will make your birth control stop working. Ela Devine, is that progestin only, or is that estrogen ones, or does it have something to do with the fact that you're taking it orally? Like, because I've always wondered, like, if you have one of the implants. Oh my gosh, thank you, Alexis S, for your $10 dono. Donos for the sufferings. Thank you. If you have, like, the progestin-only implant thing in your arm, does antibiotics fuck that up, too? I don't know. Mersh says, I had the misfortune of dating and becoming attached to a TERF in college who was transphobic and a eugenicist. Terrible experience. I didn't understand her then, don't understand her now. Developed compassion fatigue for TERFs before I had ever heard the term. Wow. Yeah, Mountains of the Moon. Some of this is that when a woman says she had a period, it's seen as negative, victim, martyr, because of misogyny when women don't mean it as a victimhood statement. Maffy Taffy, have you been here the entire time? Like, this is a frustration that I have with streaming a little bit. I've been talking about this for like 40 minutes, and you just barrel in and say trans women do not have periods. I'm a trans guy. That's like saying I have produced semen when I don't have the ability to do so. Periods require eggs to happen. Yeah, we're looping. We're looping. Hey, Gayfesh, welcome. I just started being a huge cunt out of nowhere to someone in the YouTube chat. The thing is, Maffy Taffy, that we've already been here discussing how, like, as a person who has had periods since I was 13 years old, they're a symptom cluster, which happens to include bleeding at some point in there. But because people who, like, don't have uteruses, whether they were not born with them or they had them removed, still have the same symptom cluster, you know, feel free to watch the VOD through, because we've been talking about it for a little while. Yes, understanding nuance. I understand that for most people there is, like, some really intensely, strongly drawn distinction between premenstrual symptoms and the period itself, but, like, again, I just have them all the time. Like, those symptoms, like, last through my period and stuff. It's not like you can disentangle the two from each other. And, like, here's another point that I didn't make earlier. One of the only cisgender women in my life that I talk to on a regular basis, like, doesn't have any period symptoms except for the literal bleeding. So, like, cis women can, like, have a different, like, level of interaction with these symptoms as well. Like, everyone with estrogen in their bodies has a different interaction with these symptoms. Yeah, Gayfesh, every day someone can become the main character of stream chat. Your goal is to not be that person. True. Yes, thank you, YouTube chatters, for not being unilaterally terrible and helping to address the ignorance. But yes, we've been talking about this for a little while. I've laid out my case quite clearly. Oh yeah, we're having some conflicting topic about whether antibiotics affect birth control. Thank you for the $5 super chat, Katie Cat Meow. I've had too many conversations with TERFs to ever say trans women could have periods, but I've been enjoying your content lately. I respect that you don't have that you haven't noticed, at least, that you have the experience of like a seeming hormone fluctuation. I hope that it's not just your conversations with TERFs that have prevented you from being open to this conversation, though. Because I really do think that letting TERFs control the conversation is not helpful. We're going to touch on this a little bit when we get into the Will Smith, Chris Rock debate conversation, because I know some people responded to one of my questions about that with like, well, because it would look bad to other people. I'm like, well, they think that we are terrible anyway. Why does it matter whether we do something additional that would make them think that we're terrible? They already think that we're terrible. Like, so TERFs, I guess, like, it doesn't matter if you acknowledge your period symptoms or not, or if you go out there and say trans women are being silly by saying this, like, you as a trans woman are not going to earn any points by doing that, you know? I just, the pick me kind of, you know, it's just not helpful. Oh, the turfy part is centering suffering as a defining feature of womanhood. Definitely, Technetium. Absolutely. Rain Raven says, as a trans nursing student, witnessing births and learning all about that process, I'll just say there's nothing feminine about bleeding and birthing processes. True. Yeah, Ela, don't care about the opinions of TERFs. Maybe care a little how you peer to the normies who are undecided. I think that that's fair. Yeah, makes anyone who hates trans people will always find a way to hate trans people. Yeah. Like, I just don't think that it's very useful to... You know, we touched on this a little bit when we were talking about Kat Black and her opposition to Vash's ironic misogyny and her saying, like, you are reinforcing their narrative that we are misogynistic or that trans rights activists are misogynistic. And it's like, Vash is Vash is not a man, or like, oh god, that was very bad. Vash is not trans. He is a cis man. Wow. And he is the one who said something misogynistic. Now, Kat Black, being a trans woman, coming in and saying, I think that was bad. J.K. Rowling is not going to see what Kat Black said. Like, nobody gives a shit that there's this trans woman saying misogyny is bad. You know? Like, the people who hate trans women don't fucking care. Yeah, Vash is not a man. Clipped? I made sure to turn on clips, by the way. Gayfesh was mentioning it in the chat the other day, I think. And I made sure they're on. So you all should be able to clip from this channel. Please use your powers for good. Only. Ela Devine, you think that this is a great argument. You would think that if you said, OMG, like, if when a TERF brings up that women who have vaginas, women are people who have vaginas or periods, just say, okay, are you saying women are just walking, breathing vaginas? Like, you can't, it's not a valuable thing to say because they don't care. Nicole Reyes, I don't stream from Twitch. I only stream here on YouTube, but if you're interested in joining the chat, it's the top link in the description over on my website. Yeah, someone in chat asks if I've mentioned PCOS. I haven't mentioned PCOS in a lot of detail, but I have mentioned that, like, my cycle is never regular. And, like, I think like, sometimes I'll have, like, premenstrual symptoms for, like, more than a week, or, like, hormonal fluctuations. Like, I just am very, like, my levels are all over the place when I'm not synthetically controlling my hormone levels, you know? Like, so... Sophia in the YouTube chat says, after fucking with my hormones for a while and getting back on them regularly for a few months now, I can definitely confirm that there were symptoms before, and I have them now. Between the horny and mood swings and breast stuff, there's definitely stuff happening on a regular basis. Yeah, you'll notice the breast swelling too. Like, the breast swelling will come and then go. Like, I know, like, when I'm like right about to have a period, I'm like, wow, like, these tits are rocking. What happened? And then, like, for that entire week, I'm like, damn, crazy, amazing. And then it's like, back down, you know? Yes, never ask transphobes what they think of infertile cis women. Yeah, how many times have you been on and off HRT? If anyone can speak on hormone fluctuations affects, it's you. Yeah, I was on testosterone for 2 years, and then off for 2 years, and then on for 2 years, and now I'm back off. And the monthly cycle of having ovaries and a uterus is devastatingly worse. Like, significantly worse. Like, yeah, obviously, like, when you first go on T, like, there's an adjustment period. Or when you first come off T, there's, like, a couple months of an adjustment period where you kind of are getting back to your regular whatever. The monthly cycle of, like, hormones is, for me, not good. Not a fun time. Like, I am offended that people reduce the experience of a period down to the bleeding, given all the other things that I experience. I gotta give this a little update. A little update. I gotta give it a little update. 51. There we go. I got a little update. I think that's about where we're at for today. For donos. Not they don't all show up on the thingy-mabobber manually. Like, I have to do it manually sometimes. It do be like that, though. Oh, yeah. You're right, Ela Devine. It's not an argument to change the TERFs' minds. It's an argument to appeal to women in the crowd that are on the fence. That's fair. Yes. Oh my god, Alexis, that's awful. I'm so sorry. Yeah, oh King Menstruator, share your wisdom with us. Yikes. Yeah, that's scary. That is scary. Like, bleeding for months. Not a good time. Oh, we have a very active YouTube chat right now, by the way. By the way, in the YouTube chat, if anybody's interested, I know it's on mobile kind of difficult, but if you would like to join us in the website chat, I read the website chat just a little bit more regularly than the YouTube chat. And that's the one that shows up on the screen here. I had cramps, back pain, headaches, and felt like I could cry at anything and didn't realize it could be PMS until I mentioned it to someone else and they said it sounded like a period. I assume, Cobra, that you're a trans woman. That's the experience that I've heard from a lot of folks. Sweet Winnie says, I find a lot of people seem to only see periods as bleeding, so I tend to describe my symptoms as PMS rather than having a period. Though I usually just avoid this conversation around cis people. True. Sophia says, also, I kind of love how cis women always assume I have no idea what PMS or whatever is, and I never know if I should go all actually on them. Oh. Power is fluctuating a little bit. Emily Misty says, to me, a period is the blood and PMS is the symptoms, as I tend to have a period every month, but don't always have PMS. Yeah, I mean, I just think that it's a very silly distinction. Like, I think that the distinction between a period and PMS is just kind of useless because they're both caused by the same mechanism. You might have less intense PMS symptoms, like you might have I think maybe the thing that you notice the most is your mood swings, right? Maybe your mood swings are less on some months, but you probably still have cramping and digestive issues. If you cramp, if you cramp, then you cramp regularly, right? Or like some periods are crampier than others. Sometimes my periods are like debilitatingly painful, and sometimes it's not. Yeah, Holokin, it could be. Could be. Yeah, Technetium does use the site chat on mobile. It's just, I know people have some issues with it sometimes. We're working on improving the mobile site, though. Yeah, Ela Devine better than Vosh. He ignores YouTube chat like a redheaded stepchild. I would love to be able to ignore YouTube chat. I feel at this point that I'm still too small of a streamer to just totally ignore YouTube chat. Although it's been quite lively here in the website. It's been pretty good here so far tonight. Yeah. Wow, we're talking about titties all of a sudden. Yes, titties are pretty great. Having them, being around them, very good stuff. Oh, okay, I guess the website doesn't work very well on Apple, specifically on iOS devices. Eli X says, my period is extremely painful and debilitating for the first few days, and it's super triggering and dysphoria-inducing, so I really don't like when people try to minimize the effect of my period. The bleeding is awful, but it's certainly not the worst or only symptom. I literally can't move and vomit from pain even with medication. Yes, this is what I mean. Like, this is why I start out this conversation by saying, as a person who started menstruating when I was 13 and now I'm 28, so I've been doing it for 15 years, what trans women experience is the same thing. Rain Raven, if you go up into the account button over here on the website, or if you go to luxander.net/profile, you can change those things in there, I believe. Sophie is Queer says, cramps are weird. I had really awful cramps before starting HRT, so I have no idea if it's PMS or IBS or something else. Yeah, it could be, well, I mean, if you had cramps, if you're saying, well, I don't know, what you have to specify which HRT did you start. If you had cramps before you started estrogen, then it's maybe more like IBS or something like that. Yes, Ela Devine. We need to make you bigger than Vosh. Replace Vosh as the largest leftist YouTube streamer. That sounds so stressful. That sounds really, really, really stressful. Vosh has a huge platform. All I want is to make enough money that someday, between my partner and I, we can, like, maybe buy a house and have a garden. Like, that's all I want. And it wouldn't even take very much money. Like, if I made, between, like, all of my revenues, if I made, like, $2,000 a month, I'd be fucking gold. You can replace him without being him. I don't want to replace Vosh. Medium-sized leftist streamer. Yes, that would be acceptable. Yeah, a medium-sized leftist streamer. If we had, like, a couple hundred people in here on a regular basis, I feel like that would be pretty chill. Having about 50 to 60 people in here has been really active. Like, it's quite active, and that's nice. That's really nice. Yeah, Rain Raven, I think that you're limited to, like, one per month, or maybe, I'm not totally sure how it works, actually. You're easier on the eyes than Vosh, thank you. I guess. I think Vosh is a fairly attractive person. I don't know if I would compare my attractiveness to anyone else's, but you are welcome to think whatever you want. A house and a garden is the dream, yeah. Well, I was supposed to have been an electrician this year. Yeah, see you. Like, I guess TGT is getting started. Have fun, everybody. It's the unfortunate thing about having a relatively small audience and having a decent amount of crossover with fellow smaller streamers is that sometimes you all are going to have to pick between us. I tried my best. I was like, I will avoid having the same days as Demon Mama, because it seems like Demon Mama and I are maybe going to end up having some overlap in our communities. And also, I want to hang out in Demon Mama streams and not be streaming those nights. But other than that, it's going to be there's always going to be someone streaming that same night, like between Xanderhall and Vosh and Transgirl Therapist and, yeah, H-Bomber Guy and Chariot, you know. If you, I think if you beat Vosh in a pool noodle fight, you get his channel. I don't want his channel. It sounds terrible. Yes, the parasocial interaction necessary. Oh my gosh. That was not the kind of garden that I was thinking of, but it's pretty interesting, Yula Devine. Oh, well, thank you, Tabaxi Bay. Oh my gosh. Technetium. Does that mean... Do I have to teach myself how to squirt? Do I have to do that? It's the only way. Oh no. Holokin. What have you done? You must make ropes and streamers, true. Oh my god. Oh my goodness. Ava B's in the YouTube chat. We're at the end of the segment. I need to change the stream title because we finished talking about that. We've talked about it extensively. You're more than welcome to check out the VOD. You can rewind if you want to get the whole conversation. Hey, no worries, no worries. Why does everybody want me to steal Vosh's channel? I don't want it. Yeah, the true meaning of being a streamer has been revealed. True, Emma. Thank you, Blue Spectra. I think that I'm pretty good at this, and I enjoy it quite a lot. I just have a lot of fun. I know. I won't start drama with JKR. I'm so disappointing. Is that what we're hoarding? We're hoarding the other channels? Ugh. My hoardies. You are all so wonderful. The stream would be a lot less easy and relaxed if it had a Vosh-sized audience. Exactly, Technetium! Good night, Faith by Faith. Yes, I hope that you have a good night. You sleep well. Steal the channel and distribute it among the workers. Seize the means of cringe production. True. Just watched a video where it panned down the Eiffel Tower. At the bottom was Bugs and Lola Bunny, and Lola dramatically says, Stonehenge. And all I think of is Stonehenge. I think about it when I dream. The biggest henge that I have ever seen. What's the purpose of Stonehenge? I know. Thank you, Holokin. I do enjoy busting out the singing voice occasionally. It was hard to get it up there because my voice is thrashed from talking for 2 hours, but... Lux karaoke stream when YouTube stops clenching its sphincter about copyright law. Yeah, imagine if there were more chuds, so much more room for infighting. Everyone here is too goddamn pleasant and wonderful. I know. Yeah, what does the fox say indeed? Yeah, Emily Misty in the YouTube chat, before we move totally away from the trans women having periods thing, points out that dogs have periods. They do. I personally have had to clean dog period blood off of the floor. When I was dog sitting for my sister. So, would it be cringe to call a stream community the Legion? I decided to start going by the name Stolas online, and Stokas is the name of a demon lord from the Lesser Key of Solomon occult book. I think we did think about Legion briefly, but I feel like Legion, like, to me, when I hear Legion, I think of, like, the Burning Legion from World of Warcraft, which to me is, like, demons and orcs, and I'm not the demon streamer. That's Demon Mama. Demon Mama is the demon-type streamer. I am the dragon streamer. Which, by the way, I want to do the costume change. Am I going to have to just expedite this? Am I going to have to just say, let's pretend that it was actually $50 instead of $100 to do... See you, Jason Nebular. I have to figure out what is so great about TGT's streams that everyone is leaving me. Not everyone, obviously. But I don't watch them. Whenever I watch their videos back, I find that I have to turn up the speed just a little bit. Ezra, you are my horde. You're my hordes. Oh my god, decoy duck. Oh my gosh, no. Nope, you don't have to change okay, well. Okay, thank you. That was really generous of you. And just to reinforce, yes, I am the dragon streamer. You are my horde. My hordes. And just to let it really sink in, the nature of our relationship here. Yes. I have horns now. Let's go! They kind of do, yeah, they're Diablo horns. I got these for my birthday. My dad and stepmom and them got some horns for me off my Amazon wishlist. They've been on the Amazon wishlist. Any one of you could have done this, but no, my dad and my stepmom and siblings, they look at my Amazon wishlist and they're like, they know exactly the correct things to get off of my Amazon wish list. So I need to get my 3D printer up and running because I actually do want to like different styles. Like these are kind of like ram's horns, so they're fine, but they're not perfect, you know? Let's get this scotched up a little bit. Oh, baby! How do hordes address their dragon? This is a good question. I know, I'm looking so horny. Thank you, Decoy Duck, again. That's really kind of you. I was gonna just put them on. Thank you. Yes, which horns are best, curling in then out or out then back? I mean, I'm wearing mine this way. You could also, like, put them up this way. Like this? I don't know. I want some to, like, sweep up and back like this. I think that's what I'll end up printing for myself, is a set that goes up and back like that. Naki in the YouTube chat, you did miss it. We're kind of at the end. We're a little bit past that segment. Now we're getting ready to talk about we're about to get into talking about Chris Rock and Will Smith. But Naki, yes, the TLDR on your question is that anyone who has estrogen in their body will have period symptoms sometimes, basically. You're more than welcome to rewind, yes. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do all kinds of, well, okay, so listen, about the horns. Okay, so these horns are, like, squishy, right? These are, like, hollow, right? My 3D printer prints with... It's not solid, okay? So if I were to print, like, oh my god, I don't have anything 3D printed right now. Basically, like, whenever I print something, I usually print something with, like, a triangular, kind of like a mesh, yeah, like Timerinia says. So, like, on the inside, there's all these, and I can set the percentage of infill, is what that's called. So 100% infill would be, like, the thing is 100% solid, where, like, 5% infill would mean that 5% of the inner space is being taken up by printed material, plastic. So I can make horns. I could make quite large horns that are very lightweight, because the only important part of the structure is the external shell on a print like this. It's gonna go on your head. You don't need it to be like strong, you know. So I do need to 3D print myself a variety, because I want to have options. You know, this is cool, but I want to have options. But the dragon streamer leveling up. Yes, and someone mentioned Corgi Zach is my dad. If you've ever been interested in following a streamer's dad who streams also, Corgi Zach on Twitch. Yeah, you could print some horn shapes in vase mode with no infill. They would be weak AF. In vase mode, because of the only one layer, yeah. I don't actually know when he's going to stream again. Not sure. What does he stream? Gaming stuff, from what I understand? I don't know how regular he is about it. Like, I think that I just decided to start streaming and I was like, I'm on a regular schedule now, and I just busted it out. Yeah, last time it was Pokemon Arceus. 3D printers are pretty amazing. I like FDM printers. They're pretty good. I don't really know anything about resin printers, although I have one. I mean, it's not mine. I have access to a resin printer. Okay. We are going to transition in a moment. We're having an in-between moment real quick, okay? I'm not sure about... I don't really want Maleficent horns. I don't know. I'd have to... I do have Maleficent horns on the list, but I think I was planning on wearing them in a different way. Wow. Just smacking my horns on stuff while I'm trying to lean over. Incredible. I've already transitioned, sorry. Do you have a MakerBot? I don't know. I don't think I do have MakerBot. What about MTF printers? True. They recently started 3D printing entire rocket engines at once. That's pretty cool. The kind of stuff that I've seen has been like concrete and like printing buildings, which I think is pretty cool. Of course, I'm someone who knows about trade work now, so I have to be like, how are you getting the plumbing in there? How are you getting the electricity in there? You know, I can't even enjoy it. But yes, this might just have to be a regular thing, because I'm definitely not gonna wait for a donation goal every time that the streams happened, you know? 3D print the plumbing in. True. Yeah, like so these, you know, they could, you know, they've got this front way, and then there's the back way. I don't like this. Like, I don't really like this at all. I don't know. Just, I don't love it. And then you could also, like, flip them. So you could also do this, which I don't hate this, actually. I actually don't hate that at all. Or did I just put it back the way that it goes? What have I done? Where am I? It's that they would be flipped. Yes, they would be flipped. So like this. Oh, that's weird. That's a weird one. I don't like that. That's weird. Or like this. Wait, how do Did I fuck it up again? And to just put it back to normal again? Yeah, I don't know. There's like several different ways to do it. But, you could make a horn, beard, and forehead horn. True. Okay, how is this? How is this? Is this like this? Is this correct? Yes. Dragons always getting their horns tangled up on things. It's true. Yes, the 3D printed buildings have problems, but make for good pop sci content. Become bearded dragon. True. So, I just thought this was fun. And the dress that they also got for me for my birthday is like... basically, yesterday I was like trad wife, but plus horns, and I was like, this is not far from a Toriel cosplay. This is not far at all from a Toriel cosplay. Holokin says, reminds me of this meme about if people had detachable tits and how a bunch of people would just forget them heading to work in the morning. Keys, wallet, damn, my titties. That's what it's like when you wear a packer. Testicles, spectacles, wallet, and watch. But literally. Undertale cosplay arc, true. The 3D printed rocket engines so far solve more problems than they create. Oh, that's interesting. They're probably CNC'd. If I had to guess. But, like, it's weird to me. Like, I don't know, you got, like, guns. 3D printing guns, and they usually just fucking explode right in your hand, you know? Yeah, trans femmes wear silicone breast implants, so forgetting your tits is a thing. Would it actually be useful? Inserts. Yes, inserts. Does anyone here think it would actually be useful for there to be, like, crocheted, like, packers and stuff? Because I was thinking, like, if, like, I want bottom surgery, but I don't want testicles. So there's not really a packer that exists that's for me. Like, there's no way for me to pack for that in advance to, like, prepare. So I was actually thinking about, like, making a packer for myself out of crochet. And then... Well, my thinking, Raven, is that it would be, like, I would have a hollow... I think it would be hollow. And then you would put, like, a sock in it so that it would be washable. Raven, I've already thought about this. You think that I haven't had... See, the thing is that, like, I actually think that having a crocheted or knitted penis packer would be better because, I don't know about anybody else, but, like, all these packers that you can get, they say that they're phthalate free, but they all leave, like, a weird oily residue on my underwear. Like, I started wearing a pair of underwear, and then I put my packer in my boxers so that there was a layer in between, and the underwear that was on my body always had, like, an oil spot, and I don't trust these fucking plastic manufacturers to not be putting cancerous phthalates just on my junk. Like, I am not willing to... I threw away my packers recently because I hadn't been wearing them for such a long time. They weren't, like, too damaged to use or anything. But, like, I don't trust that shit for myself anymore. I don't trust these companies to have our best interest in mind. And the thing is, like, my understanding about the queer community is that that used to be the way that you got a packer, or that used to be the way that you got an implant for your bra, like, to fill out your bra, is it would be something that someone in the community would make and usually give away for free. Like, it's actually interesting, like, I've seen some conversation in some of these groups that I'm in for like surgery groups and stuff about how it actually sucks that like it used to be an intra-community like thing, and then now all these companies are making money off of us, and sometimes like predatorily coming after us. Like I had a company come try to get me to sponsor with them for like packing underwear, and I was like, cool, packing underwear, that's great. And then like you look at the actual website and it's like, this is a female-led company for, you know, girl boss. And it's like, why do you make and sell packing underwear? Why are you contacting me? You know, who are you? I find that kind of upsetting, at least. So I was just thinking like, and Alexis says like, I don't think the texture / weight would be right. Like, it's not like the packers are like right, you know, like the purpose of the packer is just to fill space in your pants, you know? Yeah, oh yeah, Technetium, if you have a link to the Etsy store, you're welcome to drop it, because I think that's cool. It would be a custom, like, it would have to be like, how big do you want the dick to be, you know? At least that would be preferable or whatever. Like, you know, like I said, for me, like first of all, most packers are not like long enough. And so if you have like a 5-inch packer, it's usually going to have pretty sizable testicles, but I don't want testicles. So like, I think what I would do is like make a, maybe like, I think just like shaft, and then like, no, yeah, you're good, Alexis. I think the idea would be like, shit. I don't know, if you had like if there was a flat panel, but in the center of the panel was like an opening, and then that's where the penis was. So you just have this like flap, and then so the penis is like hollow, and you shove like a sock in there so that there's like not stuffing that you can't wash. And then I might put like some extra yarn coming off of it so that I can strap it to my body somehow. Yeah, fucking capitalism again. True. Yeah, Rain Raven, you totally can mold your own silicone packer. I know that there are people who, if you can make the silicone right, which this is beyond my ken, but you can, like, for example, 3D print a mold, an injection mold, and then inject the silicone, your body safe silicone, into it. So you could, as an individual, and I think that probably the best fabric to make it out of would be cotton, because cotton, yeah, synthetics would hold smell and heat. So the cotton, I just think would be easier. I think it would hold up better in the wash. Like, this is just me being like, I need a pack. Like, if I wanted a packer, it would have to be a very specific thing. So I am going to take a little quick moment, just a real quick moment. We've been going for just over 2 hours. Wowee. I am having a blast with this stream, and it's not even done. Like, we're not even done. We still have like one major topic to talk about still, which is Chris Rock and Will Smith. And we're not going to stay on that topic for crazy long, because focusing on them is not the point. Thank you for hanging out, Timerinia. Yes, enjoy your dinner. And thanks. I will stay draconic. There's so many like body mods that I want now that I'm leaning into. I'm like, it's too much. I gotta slow down. Yeah, Rain Raven, I actually should look into. So there are websites where you can take basically any model and it'll convert it into an injection mold model. Like it'll flip it inside out, invert it, and then create a thing that'll, you can, like a box or whatever, that it'll be on the inside of. So if there are packer molds at all, like if there is any penis that exists in a 3D printing model. You can invert that model and print the injection mold compatible parts ostensibly. Yeah, Timerine. The thing about body mods and getting them is that they cost money. Yes, Victoria, it's a good time to pop in, just in time for the Will Smith chat. What is a PA, Hila? What is a PA in this context? A piercing? A Prince Albert. You've been thinking about getting a Prince Albert. Nice. I have never considered getting any piercings, even remotely similar to that. Yes, I figured it out. I was like, yes. That sounds like an interesting time. I just am going to go to the bathroom, and then we're going to come back. And actually, before we talk about Will Smith and Chris Rock and the concept of justified violence and speech, I will very briefly talk about Destiny. Don't tell him that we were talking about him. Don't. Yes. And Destiny is a fun video game in space, nothing else. There is no streamer. I mean, technically there is no streamer. So, I'll be back momentarily. Like, pretty quick. Like, maybe 3-4 minutes. So, thank you everybody for hanging out. And I look forward very much to briefly discussing the Schrodinger's non-binary streamer. And what's up, Ellie Mouse? And then we're going to talk about the concept of justified violence as it relates to Will Smith and Chris Rock and that whole situation. So I'm very excited. Stay tuned. Don't go too far, because I promise we still have stuff to do. You know, I was singing Stonehenge earlier, and the result of that is that I have that song stuck in my head now. How could they raise the stone so high, completely without the technology? We have to die. Just stuck in my brain. Thank you, Holokin. Oh yeah, Alexis. I guess like anywhere where there is a ice cream, I don't really care very much about where you all post pictures. In my previous Discord server, we ended up, it's also very segmented off. Like, this is where you post pet pictures. This is where you post memes. This is where you, like, oh my god, can we just, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Don't be a dick to anyone else. That's the only rule in the server is don't be a jerk. um, Prince Alberts are only painful getting pierced. The real problem is you will always dribble after pissing. Yeah, true. I've seen the Jacob's Ladder before. Jacob's Ladder is fascinating to me, but I think that don't they reject because it's a surface-to-surface piercing, right? I don't know if this is acceptable to talk about on... Does YouTube tell me? Okay, monetization is still on. Okay. Okay, so this is the link. Technetium has posted a link for someone who crocheted a packer. And this is their Instagram account. Their Etsy is currently closed because they're preparing for craft fairs, etc. Oh. I think it's raining. Oh, God, that makes me happy. I'm still unsure what happened to that server, Victoria says. Why it dropped off so suddenly, in my view. I'm really not sure either. Oh, hi, Victoria. You have been in the server for quite a while, if I remember correctly. Yes, I am not sure what happened either. I know that I have some... Oh my god, that is coming down. You can actually see it on the... Nice. Yes, yeah, okay, so Victoria, you've been here for a long time. I have some ideas about what happened, but I don't want to, like, speculate too much. I stopped being as active in it, like, more than a year ago. Maybe even, like, 2 years ago. So, partially it was probably my lack of presence. I mean, not that creators are always very present in their Discords, but my not being there was probably part of it. I personally feel that, like, maybe some of the, like, how regimented everything is over there can be a little bit wild. But there's a new Discord where we're taking things one step at a time. Things are pretty chill, pretty relaxed. Yeah, there's not very many active people in there. I don't know if Morningstar System is in the chat right now. Probably not, because they usually say hello. But I was thinking recently, like, I haven't talked to Nama in a really long time, and I don't even know. Like, it's weird with systems because it's like, is that person even close to the front? Does that person even exist anymore? Because sometimes they get folded into other people. Which is kind of a sad thing. That's interesting. Having friends who are plural systems it's real weird. Yeah, and are you allowed to ask after them? Yeah. Sorry, Nicole. Nicole in the YouTube chat. You're up now, but I just had some issues last stream with some TERFs who showed up at the beginning of the stream and who were spamming in my chat a little bit, so you just have to be a subscriber for 1 minute, and then you can chat. But you should have gotten that now. Yes, Eli X, yeah, we have systems in the community. I added Plural Kit to the server, the new Discord server, so that any systems, any plurals, any folks in that kind of situation can communicate more easily. Yes, there were TERFs on my birthday, but that was my fault. That was my fault. I was arguing with TERFs on Twitter, and then I posted a link to my stream on Twitter. So. This the day of my hatching? Yes. Oh, goodness. Yes, Rain Raven. We're talking about people with dissociative identity disorder, or OSDD. I'm not sure what OSDD is short for, but it is a similar symptom cluster. And other specified dissociative disorder. Thank you. Yes, those folks, systems, plurals, plural systems, there are preferences, very, very personal preferences that they have about which words they actually prefer. So I try to give like a few different terms, and I usually try not to medicalize it by focusing on DID itself. I usually just say like people who share a brain or like people who share an account and brain, you know. It can be really interesting. Yeah, I think part of the reason why it's not acceptable usually to focus on dissociative identity disorder or other specified dissociative disorder is because the implication is that there is disorder. Like, that's part of the issue that people used to have with gender identity disorder, is that people really did not like that. It's like, oh, you're saying that my gender is a disorder, but it's not. Like, society is a problem, but my gender isn't a disorder. So I try not to focus in on too much with the, like, oh, dissociative identity disorder, because it's not always disordered, and it's not always traumagenic for people to have splits and introjections and various other situations of plurality. I wonder if I bet anyone who is plural in this chat and who didn't know that I knew plurals, like, probably just about all my vocabulary. Years of time spent around like 2 systems primarily in my Discord server. So yes. Holokin says, damn, I really am autistic. I stim when the thing I post helps the person I'm talking to. I think that's quite cute of me. Yes, mental health at large suffers from the disordered, ordered split and the functionality scales. Yes. Yeah, high functioning, low functioning, those things can be an issue as well. Oh, nice, Eli X. Yeah. I do know quite a bit about the stuff about you folks. At least the operative stuff about interpersonal interactions. I don't know so much about, like, the functional aspects of your diagnosis or how you all get therapy best or anything. Like, I don't know any of that technical shit. I just know, like, how to interact with you all better than average. Yeah, I certainly didn't go out of my way to learn any of it, but there's a lot of... I have known so many plural systems. There's transness overlap, I think. Same with, like, the autism overlap with transness. Like, it's just... I feel like if you have multiple people in your brain, the likelihood of some of them being not the same gender as the body, like, the associated gender to the body makes sense. Like, you know... That's just statistics, though. I bet that there are systems where they're all homogenous in gender, but I imagine that the fewer members there are, the easier it is to keep those numbers up. I'm off on a whole tangent about plurals and systems and not talking about the thing that I meant to come back and talk to you about. In any case, you are all welcome in the community. And if you're in the Discord, I have enabled a bot that will allow you to communicate as individuals more simply. Oh, you're good, ELIX. It's all good. So yes, you're welcome to be in the community. No stigma here. Yeah, it is new and interesting as far as like not as being like a non-stigmatized thing that we talk about. I think it's relatively new. The one thing that I do like, having my own medical like experience of therapy, like, and talking with her about that a little bit. I was with the same therapist for about 2 years. She indicated to me that like a clinician has to be cautious around this area because it is possible to like basically create splits in people. Like, so as a therapist, like she's like, it's part of my job to be like conscientious to not like literally create a dissociative split when there wasn't one. So that makes me cautious a little bit about like, I don't know, like I feel like it's possible that a split could occur sometimes in my own brain, and I don't want that. Personally, I don't know why I don't want that, but I don't. I just feel like it would increase the number of problems in my life. Singlet and proud, I guess. So I do think that that's something to be like aware of if it is true, which I don't know if it, because I never looked into it. I bet that there is someone out there who knows, like, I don't know, can you like manually split? I know, Victoria, I was being facetious. I was like, why? Why would I be proud of being that? Yeah, I do agree, Mersh, that complex post-traumatic stress has an underappreciated influence on myriad disorders. Thank you for using the word myriad correctly also. Especially true with the level of bullying and exclusion that takes place for LGBTQ plus individuals who develop symptoms following long-term abuse. Yes, that's true. You're good, Victoria. I was like... yes, it is useful to have specific language. And the language varies quite a bit. Yes, yeah, like, I know, like, I like, the term I initially learned was plurals, and then someone was like, don't know. And I was like, sorry, systems? But not all of them, like, and like, system doesn't work for all of them because they don't all work, like, harmoniously. Like, I know one person... I mean, truly, I do know one person, because the others are, like, it's an antagonistic relationship, and they never get to be up front, So, it's not a system in that way, A tulpa is when you manually create a companion for yourself in your head. But is it, like, is a tulpa the word for, like, it's autonomous, you know what I mean? Like, I have a dialogue in my head. Like, a lot of the time there's like two voices. They're not different, but like there's like the initial thought that bubbles up, and then there's like my response to it, right? But they're both puppeted by me, There's not like a voice that I don't ultimately have agency over, But I've also heard people say that, like, you just kind of naturally are a plural up until you, like, merge. Like, that children, like, this is part of what imaginary friends are. But, like, I never had an imaginary friend, so I'm, like, singlet all the way through, I guess. Yeah, no shit. Having the other ones be on bad terms doesn't sound good, yeah. I've heard people say that they date between, and I'm like, wow, that sounds like a bad idea. Just my personal prerogative. I feel like we're getting into territory where I should shut the fuck up, though. Yeah, I don't know. I have I just have a constant, like, there's just always words, you know. Anyway, um one thing I wanted to just touch on very briefly in the hopes that we don't get clipped and sniped and suddenly a Twitter mob, because wow, this is part of the reason why I don't stream on fucking Twitch, because I don't have to worry about raids like that, like people and their like bad words or whatever popping up in my chat, like raided by this person whose name is an insult to you. Like, fuck that shit. No. Destiny, the streamer, Steven. The reason why I wanted to talk about him at all, and this is going to be a really brief segment, is because I was aware that Destiny had claimed to be non-binary. Yeah, it's not only a girl's name, but to me, it's a black girl's name. Maybe just because I grew up around several of them. Yeah, NF Steve. True, Baphomet. Destiny is a streamer on Twitch. If you don't know who he is, just preserve your innocence, okay? The only reason why I have to acknowledge that he exists is because he looms over all of these other leftist streamers who I want to be in community with. So I just have to know what he's doing. Supposedly, he had said at some point in his streaming career that he is non-binary. And was anyone here? Yeah, we're getting there, Yelidavine. Was anyone here around when I streamed, or did you watch the video afterward where I was talking about Riley Grace Rochong's video, like her big returning to YouTube video after her major debate meltdown day between Doe and Vosh? You were there? Awesome. Oh, awesome, Decoy Duck. So in that video, we did talk about how Destiny claims to be non-binary. And someone told me that Riley believes him that he's non-binary. Alexis, no, Destiny doesn't consider himself leftist. Like, I think he might consider himself, like, a centrist or a liberal. But, it's just, like, a lot of the orbiters, like Vosh, I guess, kind of started it. Like, Vosh kind of was a person in Destiny's community who would argue against him. Like, Vosh had further left opinions than Destiny, and so Vosh got his first notoriety by arguing with Destiny about those politics things, right? So then, I guess, like, around Vosh have clustered some other leftist streamers, sort of, like, now that he's a big leftist streamer, it's, like, just impossible to exist in this space without acknowledging him, you know? And then, by extension, Destiny. Because because there's still active conversation and overlap between the communities of Vosh and Destiny, you know? Like, yes, he used to go against right-wing people, but now goes hard against leftists. Liberal, derogatory, true. He's not left, he's a liberal. We're all very sure about this. So yes, someone told me while we were streaming that reaction that Riley believed him that he identified as non-binary, and I laughed. I almost spit out my drink, if I had one. I was like, it's obvious that he's just shitposting, right? Like, it's just, is that just me? I think is more or less what I said in that video. And then I saw this little bitty news. I saw this little bitty tweet. I think Gayfesh retweeted it into my timeline. I saw a little bitty clip, a little bitty video of Destiny saying something that maybe reinforced the question of whether he might actually be non-binary. You know? Oh my god, Gayfesh, you tweet so much. Okay, I found it. Holy shit. I don't know if you're still here, but holy fuck, you tweet so much. Can you guys hear that? That's the wind and the rain outside. Oh yeah, we've definitely made jokes about my horniness. Yeah, that's the wind and the rain. Oh god, yeah, it's amazing. I'm so happy. So, here, let me get my little earbud out. Let me get my little earbud and put it in so that I can hear the words. I love rain and I love that other people love rain. True. Okay. So we're gonna watch this little minute-long video, okay?
It bothers me that people like him are having discussions about trans people when it feels like this guy legitimately doesn't know anything about, like, I don't know, that bothers me. But whatever.
I don't know who he was talking about there.
He says he's non-binary, which I don't know if I believe in that shit. It starts to feel more like just people want attention. But who knows? I don't know. It's too edgy to even.
There needs to be a name for Hassan's community.
Oh, guess I'm just attention seeking. Thanks. In YouTube chat. Yeah, I might think you are. I don't know. I don't know you well enough. Maybe. Who knows?
Something. It's like around the same. It's like within pretty small deviation.
Hold on. I'm sorry. Okay, I'll take the transphobic. Okay. I have yet to find any attention other than being assaulted in bathrooms. Haha. But thanks, Destiny. You have never been assaulted in your life for being non-binary. I'm sorry. I don't believe you. Get the fuck out of here. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, you want to talk to me now?
Yeah, I'm just fucking triggering the fuck out of me in chat. Go ahead.
So, several things about that. Just a couple few things about that really quickly. Okay? I'll take the transphobia. Yeah, I know that, dude. Yeah, for real. He's like, I'll take that accusation. That seems fair. Yeah. So, after he had been calling himself non-binary for, like, what, a year? Maybe more? Which I, the entire time, perceived to be a shitpost. He says, like, I don't know if I believe in that shit. And then he also, like, says, you've never been beat up for being non-binary. Like, which, as we discussed earlier in the stream, when we were talking about trans misogyny exempt or trans misogyny affected, like, being visibly trans in any way, like, and plenty of non-binary people are. Like, I would just wager... I'm gonna just wager that the overwhelming majority of non-binary people do appear trans. Because I think that the overwhelming majority of non-binary trans people present themselves to you as a binary trans person. I don't think the majority of non-binary people are cis-passing, non-transitioning trans people. Like, or non-binary people who don't identify as trans, whatever. I would just bet that most non-binary people could relate some experience of being targeted specifically for being trans, you know? Ela Devine says, oh, super fuck him. I took my kids to the park dressed up. Oh, that was Thunder. Had dressed up in my more femme look and had some stranger come up to me and record me and accuse me of stealing kids to hurt them. And they were gonna send people to murder me. Yeah, we NBs never get harassed. Fuck off. Whoa. Yeah, that's the thing about, like, if you are trans... like, you're visibly trans and you present feminine, people will accuse you of being a pedophile or a groomer and stealing children. You're the Fae now, Ela Devine. You are the Fae. You're stealing children, I guess. You've transitioned. If that's what your goal was, you've successfully transitioned. Holokin says, I like to say, do I want to pass as cis? No, I want to look like someone who could not possibly be cis. Yeah, Rain Raven says, I'm non-binary, but in a very binary trans way. I mostly just don't vibe with the word woman and feel okay presenting more neutral occasionally, but I've been attacked more than once. Yep. Baphomet, you are a changeling. It's true. Yeah, so I guess the trans women and trans feminine people in general are fae, and then the trans men and trans masculine people are changelings because we're the ones who have been stolen or hurt or changed or whatever. Nicole Reyes asks, did he say that in the video before or after he said he was non-binary? The impression that I got was that that video was quite recent, and that his saying that he was non-binary was something that he had been doing since, like, last year sometime. So, that's just how I understand it right now. I've heard trans mask called fawn. Interesting. Well, I personally like trans masks in general being called fawn. Like, like Demon Mama's partner is called fawn. So when I hear fawn, I just think of that one person. It's worse in the last year or so since the school bathroom BS. I've had trouble in grocery store bathrooms, etc. The only reason I think that I haven't been attacked is because I'm told that I look intimidating. I believe they're afraid that I would hurt them if they attacked me. Actually, they are right in this assumption. Yeah. Oh, there is another trans streamer called Fawn. Yeah, the I'm non-binary, so I want to look gay, but in a way that you can't tell which way meme. True. Yeah, so that would be two fawns that I've heard of that are trans feminine and not trans masculine. But we are off topic. This was nice. I have such a good time. Thank you, Gene the Bean. I enjoy going very, very off topic with you all. But I really did want to talk about the ethics of violence and the definition of violence and speech and all that stuff as it pertains to Chris Rock and Will Smith. So first of all, just to talk about the Will Smith part itself, so as I understand the situation, Slavoj Žižek has entered the chat, true. I think that, so my understanding of the situation is that Chris Rock has been making jokes about this for a while. That Jada Pinkett Smith has an autoimmune disease of some kind that causes alopecia, or is alopecia itself an autoimmune disease? Regardless, she's been losing her hair, and it's a very big problem for black women in particular, for women in general to lose their hair, but black women in particular to lose their hair for cultural reasons. It's a very integral part of their culture, how they express themselves, who they are, all that kind of stuff. So a black woman losing your hair is a very big issue. And Chris Rock making fun of her for having an autoimmune disease, it's ableist, and it hits on this very specific thing that is a particular trouble for black women, right? So this has been going on for a while, like not the first time it's happened, and he made a joke about it in front of God and everybody at the Oscars, and Will Smith got up and walked over and smacked the shit out of him. Do we need to go over the footage? I assume that all of you have seen it. I've seen the uncensored keep my wife's name out of your fucking mouth, true. Yeah, I saw a screenshot, Gayfesh says, that Chris Rock even made a documentary called Good Hair about the issues black women face with hair. Okay, Gene the Bean has not seen the footage, so we'll go ahead and let's see if I can pull it up real quick. Let's see if we can find one that's uncensored. Give me the video. Please. Please give me the video. Okay, this is a full minute long. Is this the right one? Okay, I think that is probably going to be as good as it'll get. That should be everything? Perfect. Let me get my little headphones in. Get the headphones in. Okay. Scoochies. And scoochies. Bing bong, bing bong.
Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right? Lord. Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right?
So yes, he is initially laughing. Some people have pointed out, like, the room was already laughing, like, he could have just, like, not processed what was said initially. I'm not sure exactly how you would explain or describe that reaction. Because he is laughing initially here.
Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane
Oh,
2,
they're
can't
smiling
wait to see
initially
it. All
already.
right?
So he's already cracked a joke of some kind. But he's smiling there.
That was a nice one. Okay. I'm out here. Uh-oh, Richard.
Because the camera was panned on Chris Rock, we didn't get to see the change. Like, we didn't see Will Smith's emotional evolution from hearing the joke initially to him walking up there.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Wow, the eyebrows. I'm sorry, can we just look at this man's eyebrows? Look at his eyebrows as he walks by. He's like, yes, I did. Like, yes, I did, and you deserved it. Like, that's what the eyebrows are saying right there. I'm sorry if anybody else didn't notice that. That's kind of how I feel about what those eyebrows are saying. Yeah, like, you ever laugh a joke from a friend, or see a friend not laugh and then realize, oh, okay, maybe that wasn't funny. That's true. Yeah, he knows what he's done. Yeah, he laughed and then realized what happened, maybe. True.
Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me.
That's, I feel like, a fairly good characterization of what happened. He smacked the shit out of you.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth.
Wow, dude.
Yes.
It was a G.I. Jane joke.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth.
I'm going to, okay?
Like, listen, okay, some people, like, we're gonna come back to that very specific quote later. Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth. I'm going to. Okay, just keep that little nugget. Keep that little nugget in your brain. Just keep it in there.
Oh, okay. That was a greatest night in the history of television. Okay. Okay. So we are here to give a documentary out, to give an Oscar out for...
To give an Oscar out for a documentary, presumably. So yeah. If you hadn't seen it before, now you've seen it. The little... I feel like he took it as well as he could have, honestly. Meeks saying Chris Rock took that so well. I mean, like, he got slapped. He didn't get slapped so hard that he lost his balance, or, like, he didn't, like, it seemed like he didn't, like, you know, wobble or anything. Just observing, like, you know, what I know about, like, fight choreography and, like, how people react when they smacked his vocabulary out of him. Yeah. Someone I just recently followed a creator on Twitter who said the phrase, like, he slapped the taste out of his mouth, and I was like, it's perfect. So, yeah, the awkward end caused me physical pain. He didn't completely freak out or lose his composure. I mean, like, what else do you do? Like, you're two rich people, and one, like, you said some shit that you know was across the line, and then you got slapped for it. Like, what do you do? He was looking off stage, like, for direction. He was like, is someone gonna, like, tell me what to do next? Like, am I just meant to carry on? So he was under the spotlight of performance as well. So let's discuss this, right? This is like opening the door for conversations beyond just this one situation, right? Which, you know, I know some people are like, can we just leave it at this? Like, it's funny. A rich person slapped the shit out of another rich person. At the end of the night, everybody in that room is going to sleep in a mansion. You know, what does it really matter? Like, why are we having discourse? Why are people talking about how this reminded them of their abusive parent? You know, like, what the fuck are we doing? So, initially, looking in the chats here, it's weird because I'm a pacifist, Ellie Mouse says. I object to violence on principle, but at least on some level Chris Rock earned his smack. But as a power dynamic, this makes me very uncomfortable. I feel like two black men who are very rich, who are at an event for very rich people, are like as equal as you can get. Like, I feel like it is as equal as you can get, you know? Like, I don't know that there was a power dynamic involved. Yeah, Old Woman Josiah says, I under no circumstances would want anyone to do that for me, but at the same time, I am kind of proud of him for being willing to. That's a conversation that people have been having about, like, how does Jada Pinkett Smith feel? Like, how does she feel about it? Is she appreciative, or does she, like, look down on it? And then some people saying, like, it just feels good that someone was willing to really go out there and stand up for a black disabled woman. Like, that is a group that is just kind of ignored, you know? Rain Raven says that I still can't condone it. Could have been handled in a far better way than violence. Not that he doesn't deserve it. I want to get into that in a little bit more detail in just a moment. Baphomet says, I have to ask myself, should I care about this every time I see shit relating to Will Smith hitting Chris Rock? Because, like, I really don't, but everyone's talking about it, so, like, to a lot of people it matters. I guess I just don't understand why. Yeah, I think the reason that people are, I mean, whatever. Some people are, like, personally invested, whatever, blah, blah, blah. For me, I just think it is an open opportunity to talk about this words are not violence presumed framework. Violence is escalation presumed framework. The various situations in which violence is justified framework, right? Like, I oppose violence on principle, and I oppose callous remarks against others without their consent on principle. Ethically, I think both of these people are in the wrong, but I don't think it's that consequential. Yeah, this one particular instance is not incredibly consequential. Yeah, I will definitely not say that I'm not invested in this personal situation. Mersh says, I think Chris Rock simply lacked common decency. Eventually, if you push someone far enough, they are going to react. Rock has now learned concretely what he could not understand abstractly. That's kind of where one of the tweets that I put out in response to this, Nicole Ray's, I have no idea what Jada felt about that situation. I'm sure she will talk about it on her television show. Personally, I'm not going to make any guesses because I don't know anything about the woman. One of the tweets that I put out about this was, like, I think we should normalize low-stakes violence. Like, for example, if someone is saying something transphobic, like, it would make me feel a lot better to know that I could just pop them in the mouth. Low-stakes violence, right? Yeah, we don't normally see violence between rich and powerful people. It is interesting. It's, like, different. Yeah, I mean, then they're both in suits. Like, it's just different. I'm gonna drink a little bit more of this orange juice. Yeah, okay. So not just trans people. Okay, let me expand this. Like, what I made a general statement. Like, I think we should normalize low stakes violence. And the end of the tweet was like, normalize no, fuck it, let me just pull it up. I can't fucking remember what I said. Okay. Please give me Streamlabs back. Thank you. Jesus, I need 3 monitors. Like, it's official, I need 3 monitors now. Irritating. I said, I think we should normalize low-stakes violence. Cannot tell you how much of a relief it would be to know I can smack the shit out of somebody for, like, being transphobic. Bring back steep social consequences for coming at people sideways. So I'm making this tweet in context of Chris Rock getting the shit smacked out of him, okay? So what I'm trying to basically say here is that in situations where someone is being a fucking asshole, whether it's transphobia, whether it's racism, like, I like, almost every time I've seen a video on the internet of a white person calling a black person the N-word, somewhere in that video, that white person has gotten the shit wrecked out of it. Like, they're just fucking... At some point in the video, right? Generally, I don't see people morally condemning the black person for that act. Like, generally speaking. And in my opinion, in that particular example, the person who used the N-word escalated the situation. There was some other conversation happening, presumably. They have escalated. When the black person punches that person in the face, to me, that is an equal retaliation. That is not an escalation. Even though we've escalated to physical violence, I personally am not of this weird opinion that violence, that words cannot be violent, first of all, and that physical violence is always an inappropriate escalation. Right? Someone, like someone who's been a member of the community for a couple years was replying to me about that point, and she... I'm not going to show all these reply tweets, but she's basically like, you never know what the other person will do. You know, like, if you smack them, you don't know if they will kill you, right? And for me, again, that's 2 escalations on their part. So again, taking the example of the white person calling the black person the N-word. White person calls them the N-word. That's escalation number 1. Black person punches that person in the face. Equal ground. Same level of violent intent. The white person then pulls out their gun to continue to enact violence on the black person. That's 2 escalations in this interaction, and they were both by the white person. Now, I'm not saying that we shouldn't be discerning if we were to normalize this kind of casual violence. Like, you know, my partner has even impressed upon me the importance of not flipping people off while you're driving, because you never know if somebody just is gonna, like, pull out a gun on you, you know? Like, I get it. That is... I guess, Meeks, my issue with low-stake violence like that is that it can very easily become high-stake violence. You smack someone, they trip and fall, and then they break their neck, then it's a problem. Part of normalizing violence in a culture is normalizing how to do it correctly. You can absolutely slap the shit out of someone without even making them lose their balance, as in the example of Chris Rock and Will Smith. You can absolutely slap the shit out of someone and put them on the ground. There's a spectrum. There's also, you could break your own hand slapping the shit out of somebody, you know? Like, you have to be taught how to do it correctly, you know? And I think that there's an argument to be made that if you are at a level in society where you know that popping off at the mouth could result in some level of violence instead of zero violence, because physical violence is always bad. You realize that this has given people license to just say whatever the fuck they want with no social consequences, right? Like, we are usually not even, like, if a white person calls a black person the N-word, there is no verbal retaliation that can remedy that situation. There is nothing that you can call that white person that is going to be equal to the violence of that person being called the N-word. Like, it's just not possible, in my opinion. Like, there are no steep enough social consequences for white people using the N-word. That's why they keep doing it. Normalize slapping the shit out of somebody. What would justify low-stakes violence would vary between people, and it would justify bigots taking low-stakes violence against perceived wrongs, like a black man whistling at a white woman, or a trans woman simply going into the bathroom. You're not wrong about that. And the majority would determine what violence is acceptable, and minorities would get the short end of that stick. I mean, part of what I'm advocating for is the minorities getting some kind of consensus about what kind of treatment toward their community is acceptable, right? Because what we already have is that the majority determines what violence is acceptable, right? Like, you realize that black people still get just murdered in the daylight in this country. And thankfully, Ahmaud Arbery's killers were sentenced, but he was still killed in the street like a fucking dog by normal people, not cops. Not even talking about cops. So the majority already determines what violence is acceptable, and minorities already get the short end of the stick. I am advocating for turning that situation around. What I'm saying is that what we have already is a system in which the violence of speech is just considered nonviolent. It's kind of like how, as an employee, if I were working at a food service restaurant kind of place and I ate food that I didn't pay for, they could have me arrested for stealing. Or if I took like some spare change out of the register, they could have me arrested for stealing. But if they don't pay me my wage, that's a civil suit. Crime has been constructed. The definition of a crime has been constructed, and therefore what behavior we can use to address those wrongs has been defined. And we have had the fucking neoliberal hegemony, for the most part, defining what violence is. Actually, not even just the neoliberal hegemony, but the people in power who are pro-police brutality are the ones creating the definition of violence. Yeah, Mersh is responding to Meeks. I don't know what Meeks said earlier in the chat. Oh, yeah. Low stakes to high stakes violence. Mersh says, if I put my hands on them, I don't play with them. I'm going to remove the threat by incapacitating them. Police are trained to kill. That's the bad part. When they pull a gun, they are shooting to kill. Yes, that's true. There are boundaries around speech, actions, and speech as action. Yeah, so as another example, as a separate example from the previous one, another question that I had about violence, basically, I quote tweeted this tweet and I said something. Oh, yes. I said, in all seriousness, as an example, if we know that misgendering directly contributes to suicidality, which we do, that's a fact. We're taking that as a fact. Being misgendered, direct correlation to suicidality. Why is it not considered a direct form of self-defense protecting your life to smack the shit out of somebody for misgendering you maliciously? Obviously. We're talking about someone, like, calling you a slur, right? Like, someone... like you're a brick or whatever. You know, like, it's malicious, obviously. I'm not justifying, like, slapping the shit out of somebody for... I'm curious what we are supposed to do to address this harm. You know? Like, if I... let's just envision a pretend situation where, like, I have a sister who has a trans kid, right? My sister has a trans kid. Not a true fact to the situation. My one sister is only, like, 13. And my sister is aggressively, like, she, like, forced that kid to get a certain haircut. She's destroying that kid's belongings and stuff. Like, and when she's at my house with the kid, she calls the kid, like, she goes out of the way to use the wrong name in the pronouns, right? And me, knowing that that kid's suicide risk is incredibly high for not having a supportive parent, like having an actively shitty parent who is breaking them down as a human being, and I'm watching that shit happen in real time, I'm gonna slap the fuck out of that bitch. Like, that is, and, like, I feel even more strongly about that than I do. What do you mean hitting her won't do anything? Like, okay, the example that I was pulling to in Chris Rock reacting, like, he's like, keep my wife's name out of your fucking mouth. He's like, I'm going to. What'll be interesting is to see what happens going forward, because I know that was an ongoing situation for years, and that Jada Pinkett Smith had described what their previous approach was, like they were trying to be mature about it. If being mature, i.e. not addressing the fucking problem, didn't work, and slapping the shit out of this dude worked, goal completed. That's, like, what I'm trying to drive toward is that I don't know that it wouldn't be a good thing for at least the knowledge that you could get the shit smacked out of you for coming at somebody sideways. Like, I think that that's a social good in preventing stupid shit from happening. To be fair, that guy hitting the racist guy with the twisted T didn't do anything, but we all still cheered. I just think that, like, I don't believe at all anymore that physical violence is necessarily an escalation. Like, I've started to really feel this way about a lot of different stuff, where, like, someone will come at me sideways, and then I am like, excuse you? And then they're like, whoa, why are you being so... I'm like, you started it. Like, your lack of understanding that you started some shit with me doesn't mean that you did not start some shit with me. Like, you need to be more socially aware, you know? Like, I'm tired of always having to be like, oh, they go low, we go high. Like, why do we have this expectation? Like, how far has being nice gotten us on any of these issues? The threat of violence can be effective, but only if numbers are on your side, I think. That's fair, Alexis. I'm thinking of this in terms of, like, I guess, like, individual interpersonal reactions. Ellie Mouse, leftists should conduct violence en masse in Minecraft. True. Diversity of tactics. True. Yeah, Meek says, I guess to be fair too, I doubt I'd ever be physically violent to defend myself from verbal abuse. However, if I saw someone doing that to a loved one, I'd be very inclined to throw some punches. Get a squad of people who you can trust, and work with them. Yeah, like, I don't know that it wouldn't be a good idea to, like, get on the same page. Like, can we at the very minimum, like, can we at the very minimum stop hemming and hawing over whether it's a good idea to punch a Nazi? Like, can we at least stop hemming and hawing about whether violence is a useful tactic? Because it is a useful tactic. It really frustrates me when people are like, violence is always wrong. Violence is never the answer. I'm like, sure thing, Aang. Oh my god. Yeah, Alexis, if you individually fight a TERF, even if you win, they can show up with 5 other TERFs to fuck you up. Arm trans people. Ela Devine says, y'all need to read How Nonviolence Protects the State. Honestly, y'all, if I know that not everybody here watches Philosophy Tube. Part of the reason that I have flipped on this, like, frankly, like, I've been on my way this way for a while, but Abigail posted a video a few months back called, like, Violence and Protest, and in that video she's primarily talking about the protest associated with environmental protection, or eco-terrorism, as some people would call it, and she quotes from some works that are basically saying, like, is it ethical that we've waited so long to start taking, like, proactive defensive action against these petrol companies and stuff, you know? Like, violence can be the answer, but needs to be used strategically. I agree, Alexis. Society sure isn't going to think you're the good guy if you're fighting a TERF. That's true. But society kind of already doesn't think that we're the good guys. This is what I mean. Like, the optics are already against us. Why are we living this way where we are so heavily policed in all that we do? Like, trans women, don't use ironic misogyny in your jokes or whatever. Like, I don't know. Like, everybody's always pointing to someone else, saying, you're making us look like freaks. You're making us look bad. They hate us all anyway. No, I'm not disagreeing with you, Alexis. TERFs are armed and there's more of them. Don't disagree on that point necessarily. Like the challenge then in that situation is, are you going to start a war with me? Because if you are going to cross this line, I am going to defend myself. Are you going to escalate by bringing 5 people here? This is what I'm saying is, like, I don't think that physical violence is inherently an escalation. I think it's like you're meeting someone with the level that they're hitting you at. Like, See, Brian Keller in the YouTube chat says we need to distinguish between self-defense and responding to words with physical violence. Like, words can make people kill themselves. Like, I think physical violence is equal self-defense against certain kinds of speech. Eli X says, no matter what someone does for a good cause, someone with bad intentions will also do the same. It's inevitable, so it doesn't really matter. I think, thank you, Alexis. I think physical violence could be effective with structured rules of engagement, like a duel. Bring back duels. See, I feel like that would be not an unfair way to go with this proposition that I have, you know? Nina Chi says, in a public sphere, it's not just the person's mind you're trying to change, but trying to make a point across. But when trying to make a point, a pacifist way is more effective. First of all, if someone is making fun of me or my partner for being disabled or being trans, and I slap the fuck out of their stupid face, like, that is not an attempt to change their mind. That's an attempt to change their behavior. I don't give a fuck if they change their mind. I want them to shut their mouth. Second of all, I understand what you're saying, and that has been the belief of... It's fine, Alexis. I'm sorry. If you're tired, it's fine. A pacifist way is more effective. Like, that's generally what I hear, like, what you hear, like, oh, the civil rights activists all say when they're, like, fighting for the rights of black people. The racism is not gone. People still think that they're inherently violent and inherently stupider. What the fuck are you, like 50 fucking 70 years? When did the civil rights movement start? It's been like a lifetime now. How is it going so far? TERFs would cheat in a duel. True. Thank you, Meeks. It's like the Vosh. Sometimes I just like seeing an ally tell a TERF to shut the fuck up. True. Oh, why am I not able to scroll? Okay. The law in some states recognizes some words as triggering enough to justify a reflexive violent response. Misgendering just isn't on that list yet. Yeah, okay. I'm not really concerning myself with the legal definitions as of right this second, you know? Like, what I'm saying is, like, socially. Like, I guess I'm saying, like, legally there should be somewhat of a hands-off approach to these things. Like, I guess if you don't press charges, like, if one person doesn't press charges, then, like, the law doesn't kick in for you. Otherwise, Will Smith would have been arrested, right? It's not that he committed assault. It's that he committed assault and the other person had a problem with it, I guess, legally. Anyway. I don't care about the optics. I want power. Oh yeah, Ela Devine says, civil rights activists were not largely nonviolent. We have whitewashed history to hide the violent aspects because it worked. Yeah, I'm just thinking about, like, what people would discuss about the protests, at protests specifically. Like, they hammered in, like, be nonviolent. And it seems like that sort of legacy has, like, kept up to today, where our last few years of very intense protests have been largely, like, lots of engagement in violence from the police end, but it seems like we as protesters really try hard to stay on the respectability end of that. Discussing things like this legally is frustrating and uninteresting because the law is stupid. Thank you. Yeah, peaceful protest is not as effective as people like to pretend. Indian independence, most overthrows of colonialism, civil rights, all had violent elements, and sometimes those violent elements are the reason the program succeeded. The problem is I would also like not to be murdered. Yeah. My thing is, like, I am more and more and more worried about getting murdered, so I am more and more and more thinking about being proactively violent. I think it's fair to say. Like, I don't go out very much right now, but if I did, could be potentially an issue. In some states, the other person doesn't have to press charges. Okay, Bethany Schmidt in the YouTube chat. Yeah, exactly. I would worry about if I punched a TERF or something, I would end up in prison for years. Yeah. The main thing I'm worried about with punching someone in the face is breaking my hand on their hard face bones. And the prison part. That is another factor. Ela says you need both. You need people who are calm and rational to change the minds of those who aren't yet sure what they think yet, and you need violence to defend against those who have made their choice, and their choice is to see you dead. Yeah, basically, like, I genuinely have always believed in a diversity of tactics. Like, we were talking about this back in the fucking atheist community a decade ago when it was like, oh, firebrand atheists versus the nicer one. I don't even know what they were calling him at the time. It's been a while, but like, people were like, oh, these Matt Dillahunties out here in the world are pushing Christians away because they're so rough and brash with how they talk to people. It's like, well, yeah, you need some days for someone to be like, yeah, you're a fucking idiot, and other days to be like, yeah, you're you make valid points. Let's get into this, you know? Hey, Holokin, you're pretty in and out tonight, aren't you? We're talking about diversity of tactics. That sometimes you need to be kind, and sometimes you need to be more forceful with various... Always in and out of everything. True, ADHD. I do the same thing. I'll put on a stream and I'll, like, go to the other room and be gone for 20 minutes. I'm personally a fan of turn the other cheek type pacifism, but to me that's a pretty deeply personal thing. Yeah, I find that people, like, mean different things when they say pacifism. So I find that I guess, like, one of my good friends is a pacifist, and he always says, like, I'm against, like, unjustified or unprovoked violence, I think, is more or less what he said. So, if you're a pacifist that believes in only that unprovoked violence is wrong, then at that point, it's just what your definition of violent is. Which, again, for me, like, I just don't believe anymore that speech is not violent. Even outside of the, like, directly calling for death of someone. Like, saying this person, like, we should go kill this person, you know? Like, I think even outside of that framework, there is an argument to be made that reacting with violence is just self-defense against the violence of the speech. Okay. Baphomet elaborates, I wouldn't condemn others for violent actions as long as their violence had some positive effect. Okay. Ren says, I agree with what you're saying, but the thing about racists believe black people are more violent is part of my conflicted feelings toward this. As a black person speaking for myself, responding to racism with violence further entrenches those beliefs, and helps justify response from the state. When people on the other side of the escalation are police with militarized weapons, violence versus non-violence feels like a lose-lose choice. Yeah, and listen, I understand the optics is very troublesome in that situation. I'm not, like, morally condemning those choices, per se. I'm just saying, like, I don't know that they're effective in the long term. Like, or they're only effective in the long term. Like, there's some, like, long game that's being played where it's like, in the end, history will show that we were always nonviolent. And, like, well, how is that going so far? You know, like, how's the past, like, 70 years of that gone so far? It seems like the cops can just do a little fucking bus in some people from a neighboring city who are gonna break some stuff, and everybody's gonna blame the black people anyway. So, like, why would you not just start breaking shit at a certain point? They're gonna keep demonizing you forever. I appreciate your perspective, by the way, Ren Ren. Very much appreciate it. Yeah, Ellie Mouse, that's not very Buddhist of you. Ela says, I agree, it's passing bills to take kids away from loving parents in Texas. That's them throwing the first punch. That's kind of how I feel about that. Like, if the state comes to my house to take my child away, they're attempting to do a violence to my child. And this is why when I talked about this in my video about Texas, was like, we need to get to know our neighbors. What are your neighbors gonna do if the police come to steal your child from you? Yeah, I don't know how bad the world would have to be for me to decide to pick up a weapon and defend my family. I hope we never get there. Yeah, I'm not saying I'm psyched about it. I'm not saying I'm psyched about it. Gina says, hi Gina, haven't seen you today, I don't think. I think it's good to point out that violence can be justified in response to words. I just don't think the Will Smith slap is one of those situations. I mean, I feel like Chris Rock should have known better. I feel like he should have known better. He was making jokes about that for years, and he also did, like, a documentary about black women's hair. Oh, I may have missed it. Sorry, Gina. Chat is just active enough that I sometimes miss a couple messages, because I don't want to spend too much time silently reading. I hope that you all can forgive me for that. How dare you be so active in the chat? Ah, gosh. Yeah, free speech in the US protects if blank then blank violence, not calls for direct violence or active threats. I heard that what I heard from people talking about this on Twitter was that he's made a joke about this years ago, like at least once years ago, so it's been ongoing. In Minecraft, Ela Devine. In Minecraft. Let me just get a little bit of Wawa, and I'll be right back. Oh. How dare you? Oh, yikes. Ellie Mouse says, one of my friends down here in the stupid Bible buckle has a trans daughter and had to call the ACLU this year. Yikes. Yeah, it's not a good time. No, I don't need hoagie. I don't think we have Wawa here. I think Wawa is like a California thing. I live in the Midwest. I live in the Bible Belt. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh no. Today's Tuesday, right? Yes, I believe today's Tuesday. There's Wawas out east. Ah, well, I'm in the middle. No Wawa here. I don't think, at least. Sheets is better than Wawa. I've never had Sheets. Yeah, Eli X is kind of understanding what I'm saying. If we're peaceful, we lose. If we're violent, we're feeding the stereotype, but we're more likely to get our point across. We are the villain no matter what, so we might as well do what works more. True. I'm from Texas. I don't actually know what Wawa is either. I literally was like, I'm getting some water. But I was being like a 2-year-old saying water. Wawa. Anyhow. Rain Raven. In Roblox. Oh, Wawa is basically a 7-Eleven. Okay, I see. Thank you, Palm Top Tiger. You are free to be wrong about anything you desire. What are the big... I don't think there's really, like, big food feuds in the Midwest. What are places in the Midwest that are only in the Midwest? I think we have Jack in the Boxes here somewhere. But I don't think we have any other ones. We do have Culver's. Oh, I love Culver's. Oh, it's so gross, but I love it so much. I thought maybe there was a Jack in the Box in, like, Kansas City the last time I was in Kansas City. It's been a while, though. Yes, the Butter Burgers. Fucking the Culver's. Oh my god, the Culver's, like... First of all, Culver's does bottomings. Okay. Does anybody else here watch the Mythical Kitchen channel? Mythical Kitchen, related to Good Mythical Morning. Oh my god, I got very distracted by the chat. Yeah, no, it's not a sex thing. Mythical Kitchen does these videos sometimes where they test a bunch of... They're like, what's the best way to make fried chicken? Double dredge or single dredge? And, like, they have, like, 4 different, variables that they're testing. So with their burger episode, they were like, is the burger better if it gets flipped only once? Or if it gets flipped multiple times? If the bun is toasted versus not toasted? Like, they test these things in the kitchen, for edutainment, and one of the things that they tested was whether the burger is better with the toppings on the top of the burger or on the bottom. They concluded that bottomings were better. You put the lettuce and shit on the bottom of the burger. It is better. It's inexplicably better. And Culver's does bottomings. Their toppings are on the bottom of the burger. Very delicious. So it is a sex thing. True. I've never put chili on spaghetti. I've never done that personally. Bottoming better. Zeph confirms. True. Too bad Jack Coleman isn't here. I will accept a bottoming anytime. Then the question is, which, like, if you are accepting a bottoming, that means that you're the top, right? Or are you saying that the bottoming is the verb being done to you? Does the chili have beans? Usually when I make chili, it has beans in it. Usually like red kidney beans, right? I never bottomed before. I should get on that. But my partner doesn't really love beans, so I was kind of thinking about trying to make, like, a chili recipe that didn't have beans. But, like, what else gives the chili its substance? Do you just have to put, like, a fuck ton of, like, chunks of tomato in there to give the substance? Because otherwise it's just fucking ground beef in tomato sludge, right? Yes to both Switch City. True. IDK, that's why I don't eat chili. No. Oh, I guess you could put lentils in there. That makes sense. I bought some lentils recently to try. Ooh, or peppers, and I'm like, ooh. Do you like red peppers? Like red sweet peppers in a chili? That would be really good. I could see losing the beans if you had like way more tomato chunks and peppers and onions chunks. That would be really yummy. But yeah, we put beans in. It's the taste that my partner doesn't love on the beans, but it's tolerable generally. Balls got censored. Tofu, onions, peppers, bacon, balls of dough. I would not put balls of straight dough in any food. The thing is that like my partner and I are both like a little bit neurodivergent, so we have like, you know, like, oh yeah, this typical thing that normally works for most people is like one of us has a sensory issue with it or whatever, you know, like. What about mochi balls? Mochi. Is that red bean paste? Or mochi? Are you talking about the like gummy stuff that they make by like coordinating their hitting? That's what mochi is, right? My sensory issues revolve around crunch. No chicken and dumplings? I don't know. Chicken and dumplings sounds like something I wouldn't make because dumplings seem like something that would take a fucking forever to make, and that's just not. I already am very slow at like everything I do. Red bean paste goes in mochi balls. Okay. I just require my food never touches. Oh, mochi is chewy rice. Okay, yes, the stretchy Japanese dough stuff. Okay, yeah. I know what mochi is. Hold on. I just want to show you all something really quick that I find amusing.
中谷光雄株式会社中谷堂23年やっております。伝統的な文化でも。
That was the main thing that I wanted to show you, that they make mochi by like pounding it, and they coordinate their pounding by yelling, so that they can both hit in alternating fashion. So I just think that's neat. I think people who are that dedicated to their craft are really fascinating people. Very interesting to me. But we don't really eat rice or like pasta, because my partner doesn't like how it feels when like carbs are just heavy in his body. That Rice made a joke about Jada Pinkett Smith. True. That Rice killed my family. I know. So much violence. My sensory issue is no slimy and nothing that pops. So if the beans were just like crushed up a little bit, not like pulverized, but if they were just like smashed enough to like break the skin, would that make it tolerable? It is so stormy outside. Oh my god. I can't wait to open the window later. So anyway, we've kind of hit on all the major points that I wanted to talk about today. Oh, it's still slimy. I see. Okay. Oh, okay. Refried is fine. I don't like the mushy inside compared to the smooth outside casing. Okay, makes sense. Texas-style chili is made without beans. have a really amazing Texas chili recipe that I don't get to make nearly enough since my family can't handle spicy food. Ugh. This is making me want chili. I bought some, like, ground turkey, and I was kind of thinking about trying to make chili with the ground turkey because it would, like, kind of hide in the chili. Hot take, chili is just Southern curry. True. Oh yeah, Mersh, you've talked about this a couple times. Not having to cook anymore, living on a mostly liquid diet. Did your stomach get removed or something? There have been times in my life where I've been intensely depressed and can't eat solid food. So I end up, drinking a lot of liquids. Like, like, if I could be drinking water, but I have orange juice instead, I'm gonna drink the orange juice. Because I need calories. But it's not a necessity thing. I'm like, oh, I need to drink milk because I need something in my body now. The texture comes from broth, crushed tomato, and tomato paste reduced over 4 hours in an open pot. Whereas most chili recipes are made in a slow cooker, I think. I always, I usually, like, make my beans on the... Like, I make my beans and chili on the stove, not in the slow cooker. But I also usually only cook it for, like, an hour and a half. I probably should do it in the slow cooker, though, because that would be, like, much more of a leave it there and leave it alone kind of thing. That would probably be, like, a good stream night dinner. I just ate before stream tonight. I was like, I'm just gonna make a point to eat before stream. Do I put chocolate in what? We're talking about chili. Why are you talking to me about chocolate right now? Oh my god, Mersh, that's horrible and terrifying. Cook it for days, yes. Biggest thing with beans is to never let them boil. Do they change texture? I don't want to put chocolate in my chili. Oh, boiling breaks the skins and they burst. I see. Why would you do that? What's up, Hey Oteo? How's it going? Yeah, why would you put chocolate? I just put brown sugar in there. Interesting. I mean, if you say so. Yeah, maybe unsweetened chocolate. I don't know. I've never cooked with chocolate before. I keep meaning to make cookies, though. I bought some semi-sweet chocolate chips because I was gonna make chocolate chip cookies. I should do that this week. Like, how much of a mess is my kitchen? You used unsweetened chocolate when you made bread. Interesting. Chocolate can be good in savory things sparingly. Yeah, I mean, like, a little bit of sugar can bring a lot of stuff to life. I don't know what a cremo au chocolate is, but it sounds really good. Make cookies on stream. Actually, someone got me this tripod off of my wish list. So now I have a phone tripod. And I could do streams from my kitchen. So technically baking cookies is just like the mixing it part. And I could technically do that. I don't want to do actual cooking on the stream because it's loud. God, it's so loud. What's your favorite type of cookie? There's this place that makes cookies locally that I think it's like a chocolate cookie with like white chocolate chips. So it's like a cookies and cream cookie, and it's so good. Oh my god, it's so good. If you're gonna cook with chocolate, you should make chocolate mole. I've never made mole. I'm not even totally sure what it is. Leftist cooking shows, true. One chocolate chip goes in for every $1 donated. Don't leave the cookies barren. Yeah, fair enough, Rain Raven. Oh, mole is just Spanish for sauce. I see. I actually, like, I was using chocolate chips, like semi-sweet chocolate chips, for the purpose of a token reward system. But I think I need something that I actually want more than semi-sweet chocolate chips to implement an intermittent reward system, which is a nice, fun little psychological trick. If you don't know about it, learn how to train a dog with an intermittent reward system and just apply all that same psychology to yourself. Congratulations. I use M&Ms. Yes, M&Ms can work. Like, if you don't like chocolate, you can also use Skittles or gummy bears, like something small. Intermittent reward systems. I'm just gonna step away really quick and be right back, because I can just hear something funny and I want to make sure nothing's weird's going on. Okay, hold on. Well, thank you for your patience in waiting. I think on a normal night, like right now I'm actually feeling energetic enough to keep this going. However, there is a water situation that I need to deal with. I gotta try to get a hold of someone for the apartment people to try to fix this. And instead of being like, wait while I try to get this phone call situation figured out and then I'll come back, I'm just gonna end stream for tonight. So thank you all for hanging out with me. I've so enjoyed the conversations that we've had tonight. It's been quite eclectic and interesting. And I'm gonna try to get this problem fixed. I can hear it. I'm in my apartment and I could hear water coming out of the ceiling somewhere else. So we're gonna try to fix that. Again, thank you all. We appreciate all the help and the donos. And we'll see you next time. Good night, Horties.